Okay.
I'm waiting for my boss to tell me it's
Oh. She's watching.
another one.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I did want to make sure I had a chief on here.
Yeah, okay.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye. House used to wait. I know, yeah.
We're good?
About that.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let's get going there. 3B. This is National Preservation Month. The proclamations were awarded at the HRB meeting. And that's normal, I think, if I remember right. The photos normally aren't finished by that time, so one photo is for the, good luck saying this, Tucaletta Hall Plaza Market and the Lovett House. I don't think we have anybody to get them, but I know I can get the Lovett House to John Graham. He owns that. And who owns the Plaza Market? They're out of towners. Okay. So we'll see if we can get those to them. If not, they're kind of cool to display. So, okay, next. We have another proclamation. It's National Public Works Week. Now I can put my specs on here. Okay. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services, that they are vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities, and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of San Juan Bautista. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, employees of all level of government and private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our residents. Whereas it is in the public interest for the residents, civic leaders, and the children of San Juan Bautista to gain the knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their community. Whereas the 64th Annual National Public Works Week theme, Advancing Quality of Life for All, shines the spotlight on the way public works professionals contribute and enhance the quality of life in all the communities they proudly serve. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Scott Friels, on behalf of the San Juan Bautista City Council, do hereby designate the week May 19th through 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week, and urge all residents to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and recognize the substantial contributions they make to protect our nation, our national health, safety, quality of life.
Thank you. I'd just like to say, it's a privilege and an honor to serve this community and to work with this council, to work with City Manager Don Reynolds, all the good things coming to this community, and everything that we're doing is great. And I'm sorry that we all couldn't make it here, but I'm here with Menno, our lead landscaper here. And thanks for coming out and this, this is an honor and a privilege to serve this community and work for this city. So thank you for this.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Nick.
Can we get a quick photo? Yeah. Jump in there for a scrapbook.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're huge.
Those are big guys.
Here. You're not part of witness protection. Thank you.
All right, 1, 2, 3. There we go, cheers. Perfect.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, I love that we're doing this now. Congratulations. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you.
Okay, next is we have 3D, LGBTQ plus Pride Month, June 2024. Mayor Pro Tem Leslie Jordan will be reading.
Thank you. LGBTQ plus Pride Month, June 2024. Whereas the City Council of San Juan Bautista recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2024 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ plus Pride Month throughout the city of San Juan Bautista. And whereas the city of San Juan Bautista joins to observe Pride Month with a pride flag raising ceremony to honor the history of the LGBTQ plus liberation movement and to support the rights of all residents to experience equality and freedom from discrimination. And whereas the rainbow flag is widely recognized as a symbol of pride, inclusion, and support for social movements that advocate for LGBTQ plus people in society. And whereas the city of San Juan Bautista is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ plus people in our diverse community. And whereas this nation was founded on the principle that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the city council calls upon the people of San Juan Bautista to embrace this principle and work to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists. And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for Pride Month LGBTQ plus community, and is an opportunity to take action and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. And whereas the rainbow flag will be raised on June 1st, 2024, recognizing all LGBTQ plus residents whose influential and lasting contributions to our neighborhoods make San Juan Bautista a vibrant community in which to live, work, and visit. Therefore, now be it resolved on behalf of the San Juan Bautista City Council, we do hereby proclaim June 2024 as Pride Month in support of the LGBTQ plus community. Do we have anybody here to accept this proclamation? Thank you very much.
Got it. She'll take that. Thank you. Okay, we have 3E. Jackie, would you like to read the Mental Health Month?
Yes, Phil.
Thank you.
Yes. Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2024. Whereas children and youth across the country are facing a mental health crisis that disproportionately impacts young people of color, LGBTQ plus youth, and those in under-resourced communities. And whereas nationally over 60% of youth experiencing major depression do not receive treatment. Data shows that from 2018 to 2022, suicide was the second leading cause of death among California's youth aged 10 to 25 years old. CDC data shows that nearly 10% of children in the US ages 3 to 17 years in 2016 to 2019 were diagnosed with ADHD, anxiety, behavioral problems, or depression.
During this period, about 3 in 4 children with depression also had anxiety. It is important to note that depression and anxiety in children ages 6 to 17 years increased from 5.4% in 2003 to 8.4% in 2012. And whereas the core of the state's master plan for kids' mental health, the Children and Youth Behavioral Health Initiative is transforming how California meets the behavioral health needs of children, youth, and their families. This effort is laying the foundation in developing the infrastructure to support a more coordinated, youth-centered, equitable, stigma-free, and accessible system that prioritizes prevention and early intervention. And whereas we recognize the need to work together and integrate the efforts of our child-serving systems under a shared vision, shared goals, and shared accountability. We'll continue to collaborate with schools, behavioral health providers, health plans, and communities to make sure our children get care when, where, and how they need it. And whereas Children's Mental Health Awareness Week, the first week of Mental Health Awareness Month, is a reminder of how important it is to connect with and be there for one another and to reach out for help if you or someone you love is struggling. And now, therefore, Mayor Scott Friels, on behalf of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista, do hereby proclaim May 24, 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month and urge all residents to learn about the resources and services available to support mental health at www.cdc.gov/children's mental health-data.html and www.chhs.ca.gov/youth resources, dated this 21st day of May, 2024. Mayor Scott Friels.
Thank you. Thanks for making us aware of that too.
Yeah.
Okay, item 4, we have a couple presentations from Binu Abraham. She's the Executive Director for the Council of Governments, San Benito County. Binu, do you want to tackle one at a time? You want to do your? I think we have what your first one was at 25, and then the next one. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, what that's getting pulled up. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and give an update on Highway 25 and Highway 156. When I started last year, I promised I would go and provide updates on what's happening on our freeways or our highways regularly. And, you know, it's been a year and this is the first time I'm coming, but we have news. We are starting to make progress on Highway 25. So this is a great opportunity to update you all. Thank you. So just to give an overview of what I'll be talking here, there is no surprise. You all know where we are on Highway 25. I just want to give an update on what has been done, where we are, and what's the plan going forward. So we'll go touch a little bit on the background because we all want to start with the known, talk about the history, and then we would like to talk about what is the role of Caltrans versus what's the role of San Benito COG and the rest of the local agencies here. And then we will touch on our challenges, mainly funding, and what are the next steps. So you are all familiar with Highway 25 more than I am. So it's the 11-mile stretch of SR 25 or State Route 25 from San Felipe to 101. That's the segment that we are talking about. But today I'm only going to talk from San Felipe Road to the county line, because what is happening beyond the county line, we need Santa Clara and Valley Transportation Authority, VTA. They are tackling that. And just to keep the scope to what we are able to control, I'm going to talk about the segments there. So you can see that there are 3 segments within our county line. The first segment is the orange colored one from San Felipe to about the roundabout. So that's segment 1. The segment 2 is the roundabout itself. And segment 3 is the blue area from the roundabout to the county line. We had numerous driveways, egress and ingress, probably around 55, 60 of them, which makes the traffic or the agricultural vehicles kind of block the commuter path. They're not blocking, they're just slow. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But we had a rise in how many commuters are commuting from our county all the way to Santa Clara, which creates a big congestion in this road. From as far as I know, from the reports that I have been able to track, this has been in conversation for more than 24 years. So if you go to the next slide, this is the evolution of the project. So in 2000, when there was a lot of influx of people moving into the county, this corridor became a major safety concern. So the SR-25 Safety Task Force was established, and they looked at what can we do to make it a more safer corridor. In 2009, we were able to do a safety project that would include putting in the K-rails, combining or consolidating some of the driveways so that there is not so much stop and go. In 2016, Caltrans, along with the county and the both cities, adopted a new route for Highway 25 that would determine where the route is going to be so that we can now expand it to a 4-lane expressway. And a 4-lane expressway, by definition, is that it will not have as many egress or ingress. It will have at least a 1/4 mile of no interruption, no cross streets. That's the definition. So that's the basic is just like we have the SR 156 expressway that's being constructed. The same principle, not on the same alignment. We are not widening that road, but we are building a parallel one to it. So that was done in 2016. And then once we completed that and we looked at how much it will cost, we figured out that we don't have the money to build it. So when 2018, we went back to the voters and passed Measure G with a majority. So the Measure G is supposed to bring some money to the table so that we can construct a 4-lane expressway. In 2020 and 2021, the state made some changes to how the state is evaluating what is the impact of a transportation project. I'll go into that a little later, but there's been some significant changes in 2020 and 2021. Now, for every project, every transportation project that we are looking at, we have to look through the lens of how the state quantifies what's the transportation impact. So that added some complication to our project. And here we are in 2024. We are ready to look at it again, to do all the environmental studies, to have a path forward so that we can get this project to finish. That's just the evolution of this project, but we can look into some of the pieces. So this is the 2009 safety project that I was talking about. There was some federal money involved in this, some state money. So this helped the community a lot. But since 2009, our traffic has increased tremendously. We have, as you all know, about 60% of our people are commuting outside of our county, for whether it is for education or for jobs or for whatever. That traffic is not decreasing, that is increasing. So the new 2016 route adoption that I mentioned, that is highlighted as the blue line that is parallel to the existing line that is shown in black. So the black Highway 25 is the existing line and blue is kind of parallel, not exactly parallel. That's the segment. The same segments we talked about, the orange segment, the new alignment will be kind of to the west of existing 25. The second segment, the roundabout, that will be at capacity in another 10, 15 years. So this we are trying to put an interchange. So grade separated between Highway 156 and 25. That's what we want. Because a roundabout, as you know, it's still not going to be sufficient to address all the traffic growth that we are going to experience in this county in the next 20 years. Then the third segment, the blue segment, The new route will kind of cross over the existing Highway 25 to the east side or the north side. So that's the alignment that we are talking about. This has been adopted. This is part of the general plan by the county, and both the cities, I believe, has adopted it as well. Okay, now let's talk about what's the role of Caltrans versus San Benito COG. San Benito COG, or us, we are the sponsor agency. If there is a safety problem, so for example, the roundabout, the construction of the roundabout was fully funded by the state because it triggered a safety concern in the state, all around the state. This was one of the biggest safety intercession before the roundabout was put into place. So the state was required to address that problem, and they funded the roundabout. That is not the case with the State Route 25 or Highway 25. We are the sponsor agency. So if we need to widen it, we have to bring in the money. That doesn't mean we have to bring it from within the county. We can go and look at grants. We can look at state funding, federal funding, anything. But we are the prime agency that is tasked with going and finding the money. Implementing agency and the owner and operator of this roadway is Caltrans District 5. So any environmental study, NEPA, CEQA, any of that, Caltrans has to approve. And we have a project development team that is comprised of all the 3 local agencies here, the county, San Juan, and Hollister, San Benito COG, and we have CHP. We have a well-rounded group of project development team that will be sharing information and be able to help us navigate how this road will be evolving. And finally, San Benito COG also operates LTA, the transit. So as a transit operator on this Highway 25 road, we get some say in what the transit needs of future are. So that's how we separate between Caltrans function and San Benito COG function. Next slide, please. So Caltrans, because we have to do the CEQA and the NEPA through the Caltrans process, what you see on the screen here is the Caltrans project delivery process. It starts with planning, which is already done, and then the project initiation, again done. We have a project initiation document that says this is a priority project, there is a need for this, we need to build this. The next step is the light blue one, project studies. And this is where we talk about what is the environmental document going to look like? What is the preferred alignment? Is it a 4-lane expressway or a 2-lane expressway or a 6-lane expressway or a regular road? What is it? So we looked at different alternatives in this portion. And this is where we are right now. Typically, it takes 2 to 6 years. If you have the money, we can get it done in 3 years. And then once that is done, we go back to California Transportation Commission, and they approve our project report. When they approve our project report, then we can go into a design phase of saying how many lanes are going to be there, how that lanes are going to look, what other things we need to look into it. Once that is completed, then we go for funding. So that's the point where we look for state and federal funding to see how we can get money to build this project. And then we go into construction. The total, if you add up all the steps, it's going to take about 7 to 15 years. 7 years, if you are really on point, you are all in agreement with what we want to do. 15 years, if we change our mind, if things change, if you don't have money, you have to build it in phases, all those things. But, we've been talking about it for a little longer than 15 years, so there is some room that we need to sharpen here. But from now on, I think the earliest we can do is about 8 to 10 years. If we are on point, we are all aligned in what we are asking the state to do, and we don't lose track of what we are trying to do in between, we can get it done in 8 to 10 years. So I talked about the evolution of the project earlier, and just to recap, we identified a problem 2000, we built some safety features 2009, we adopted a route in 2016, we needed money, we found the money through Measure G in 2018. And then in 2020, Senate Bill 743 or vehicle miles traveled happened. Next slide, please. So this was actually passed into law in 2013, but the state didn't give us time to work on it and do any CEQA that you wanted between 2013 and 2020. From 2020 onwards, any project that you are doing have to account for how many vehicle miles are traveled within the project and the account for the mitigation of that increase in VMD. The idea is to promote more climate change, to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and to reduce the reliance on single occupancy vehicle, or to promote more people to take transit or alternative modes of transportation. And in a nutshell, next slide, please. In a nutshell, what VMT or Senate Bill 743 means is, previously, when you quantify what is the impact, you would ask how many people are driving, how many cars are on the road. Now, the state is saying it does not matter how many cars are on the road. We want to know how long each of you are driving. So how it affects us is, because we are an agricultural community and the distance from your start to your destination is longer, every trip is going to have a longer vehicle miles traveled as opposed to a city where destinations are close apart. So if you want to start from point A to point B in a city, you can get there probably in 3 miles. For us, it will be 15 miles. Just to give an example, it's not 15, I'm just giving. That's the kind of difference that we will be seeing, which means for rural communities, vehicle miles travel is really hard because now we have additional vehicle miles that we have to mitigate for. All that means is it's going to increase the cost of the project when you're trying to mitigate CEQA. Next slide. The other change that happened is in 2021, according to the governor's executive order, he signed Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, otherwise known as CAPTI. Again, this is another way of addressing the greenhouse gas emissions and to aligning the state goals for better climate and public health. So what does it mean to our project? Next slide, please. What this means is that the state is giving funding, or what the state controls is funding. What the state is saying is, if you want funding from us, you have to show us that you are doing something in addition to just changing your vehicles to electric, to address how you are going to shift people from driving a car into some other modes. So transit, bike and ped, other, addressing for disadvantaged or low-income communities. If you can show or you can make a case for any of this, there are 10 policies that are written in the CAPTI that you can work with. You need to show some way of advancing these goals. That is only if you want money. And of course, we want money.
Of course we do.
Next slide. So what does that mean for our project? If we have to build this project, if we wait for the period of time we need to do all our planning studies and get to a point where we can build the project, it's gonna probably cost us 600 to 800 million. That is a very rough estimate. So I want to put a million asterisks on there to say that we have no way of knowing what it is gonna cost. The construction cost changes, the cost of land changes the more you wait. The construction, it's probably escalated 3 to 5% per year. And this is me thinking that we can get this project done in about 10 years. In 10 years' time, it's going to cost us 600 million. But again, we don't even know the scope of the project. So without knowing that scope, it's very hard to pin that number down. But in my experience, I haven't seen costs going down. I have only seen it go up. So I'm gonna say it's gonna somewhere between 600 to 800. Again, we will learn more when we do the environmental study, when we have the design and we know when we are going to do it. Next slide. So Measure G will guarantee us 242 million. And that is over a span of 30 years. So how the Measure G is written right now, the ordinance is written as in the 30 years, that is by 2048, 50% of whatever the Measure G makes will be going to Highway 25. And this 242 million is the 50% of whatever we think the Measure G is going to make. So for 84 million, we are going to take half of it for Highway 25. But remember, it is in 2048. We want to construct this project in 2030 or 32 or 35. We won't have all the 242 million, which means we will have to bond. If we are bonding, you will not get 242, you will get a fraction of that, probably 100 to 150 million. So we are short of about 300, 400 million for this project. Some of this will come from impact fees that we collect through the county, but our main focus would be leveraging funds through state and federal grants. And this is where, when I mentioned the Climate Action for Transportation Infrastructure, or CAPTI, comes into play. Now you're going for state or federal grants, and the thing they look is, how are you complying with all the goals that we said about state climate policy? So if you want grant, we need to compete with all the other people who are including the climate action plan in their plan. So we need to put some too. We don't have to, but because we need money, we are kind of compelled to add more. And when you add that, the cost is going to go up a little bit more. So next slide, please. And some of the projects that we have seen so far that is getting funding are projects that focus on mitigating climate change or reducing the vehicle miles traveled. The kind of project that also addresses disadvantaged and marginalized community and low-income community, they are also getting funding. So examples of that would look like, next slide. Can we invest in bus and rail transit services? Those seems to be something that the state likes. Can we say that our Highway 25 will be a transit corridor, and that way we can get more funding opportunity? Next slide. One of the things the state wants to do is make sure that the reliability of our transit is better. And the reliability of the transit is better means when you start from home and you know you're taking transit, you should be able to predict when you're going to get there. If you're going to sit in traffic along with all the other cars, that's unreliable. But the state will give you extra money if you say this is a major transit corridor and we want to improve the predictability of when you will get to where you want to go. So that could be a way of asking for funding. Next slide. The other option that I have seen a few agencies try recently is toll facility. And toll facility doesn't mean the traditional toll, it could be anything. The argument there is this is addressing some of the equity concerns that we have. So for low income people, can we give them kind of like a fast track so that they can get, they are the ones who need to get to places. They are the ones who are doing multiple jobs. How can we help them not be stuck along with other traffic? None of this is a foolproof way of getting money, but these are some of the projects that I am seeing coming back for funding and doing really well. Next slide. So that brings us to what is our next step. We have a couple of issues here. Primary one is we need to do a planning study. We need to go through all our CEQA and all our environmental process so that we identify what we are going to do. We need to know how many lanes, where, when, how, all that. So that is primary. Then we also need to come up with where is a gap in funding and how can we get that. We need to look at our Measure G and make sure that we have At least the money that is coming through Measure G is guaranteed, and if you're bonding, that is exactly this much we are going to get. And finally, we need to do public engagement. One of the things I have noticed is that there's a lot of people that have a lot of misinformation or no information. And they think Highway 25 will be done in 2 years, something it will be done in 20 years. So it's important that we are all on the same page, so we understand what the community needs. And then we lock that down and go from there. So that's my Highway 25 presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody take a big deep breath. Don't shoot the messenger. John, do you have any questions?
I'm not sure it's a question, it's more of a comment. On the vehicle miles traveled, I think the state, and I think we have a good chance because of Bob on the CTC, but the state needs to weigh other factors. And what I'm thinking of is the greenhouse gases are being generated by a car idling on 25 just as much as the car is doing 35 miles an hour on 25. So it's sitting, and most of my friends who commute on 25 tells me it's anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half on that road. So that's a long time for 11 miles. I would suggest that you push the fact that cars idling on a road are generating just as much, if not more, greenhouse gases than cars traveling smoothly on the road. That's it.
Thanks for sticking with us. How was it decided that it's going to be not the same path traveled as the original 25? Why are, like, 156, why are we building a whole new road and not expanding on that? Is it less expensive, or?
I think that was a factor. Because when you are looking at the land for expanding plus the moving the utilities and consolidating the driveways, you have to provide a path for people who are using it, that access, and it almost like building two roads. And so the Caltrans looked at all the options and said it's cost effective to have a parallel.
And then what would happen with the original 25?
That would become a frontage road. So there are a couple of options we have. We can say that that is becoming just like our existing 156, which this Caltrans is going to relinquish to the county, and the county is going to take ownership of it. That same thing will happen. We can say it's a frontage road for the agricultural people who are using it. For if you want to just move within the county, you can use it. We can make it a multimodal roadway. We can say that is our transit road. But as long as it does not provide direct access to the other side of the county and is a throughway, it's a frontage road, we can make it whatever we want.
Okay, thank you. And then Santa Clara County, are they in alignment with this plan, getting the interchange at 101 and then hooking up the road with our road? Wait.
Yeah, so the details of that plan has to be fleshed out, but they are in agreement, and we meet with them quarterly to address this issue. And 10125 phase 1 of that project is starting this fall.
Okay.
And they will be done in, I think, 2 years. 2027 fall, you will have a better 10125 ramps and bridges. Right.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I just want to say thank you for that report, and we won't beat you up. You're just the messenger, and you've done a very excellent job. So what I'm understanding is that the VMTs, vehicle miles traveled, the formula changed a little bit, and this is what I understood, if you can correct me, that it's the time idling on the road versus the quantity of cars traveling the road.
Yes, so the VMT is how many miles a car is traveling. It doesn't take into account
How many?
whether you are idling, but from the origin to the destination, from your home to wherever you need to go, how many miles is it?
So they're not looking at a total number of cars because we are rural now. And it seems like there should be an exception or a different funding source for communities that are rural, that are now bedroom communities to a neighboring larger center of employment, because that's what's happened. And it sounds like the housing department at the state level and the governor and all the housing walks are not looking at the effect of this.
They understand it, but this is how we are quantifying it until something else comes into play. Mostly the vehicle miles travel was put in to address housing. So they didn't want to have urban sprawl. They wanted all the housing and everything to be in compact infill areas. So that's how the Senate Bill 743 first was formed. But it is now impacting the transportation, yes.
Yeah, I understand why they would want to avoid urban sprawl, but they've created another animal, actually another monster. Thank you.
Questions?
No questions. Thank you for the information. Reposted on Facebook everywhere. The facts speak for themselves. I think it's a complicated problem. I, for one, do not want to be playing this game, but it's what we're living.
Yeah, that's the goal of her tour. The two city tour in the county. Yeah, we're getting information out there. Yeah, it's talk about hearing this every day. Yeah, and then driving home in that mess. It's frustrating. We're trying our best. I think, like what John said, having Mr. Tiffany and the CTC may help. I think they're starting to see the light a little bit about rural communities. We did have a gentleman from the state, I don't remember his name, but he was a little confused of where we were. He didn't think we were an agricultural community. He goes, I don't really see San Benito County as an agricultural community, and there was a lot of question marks popped over everybody's head, but yeah, this is, I mean, 600 million.
I won't play this game.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Liz, do we have any public comment on this? Everybody get up off the floor.
No speaker cards received, and I'm seeing no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, great. Any more comments on this and we'll move to the next? Okay. Okay, hit us with the 156.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say any more about it.
Okay, so State Route 156. As you all know, the Expressway 156 improvement project is underway, and it should be done by fall of 2025. So we are almost at the end of the tunnel. One of the key pieces now we have to address is the Union Road closure. This was something that previously, according to the original Caltrans plan, was going to take us 8 months. So, but the Caltrans listened to all the residents here, and there were like a lot of comments on this about how it is going to impact our life for 8 months. So San Benito Council of Governments, we paid extra money so that Caltrans can accelerate that work. And the time period is now shortened from 8 months to 2 months. So we want to just give an update on what it means, that closure. During that closure, what happens? During that closure, as you can see, the red line, the red marked on the map, that's the portion that will be closed. And traffic on Union Road will be rerouted to San Juan Hollister Road. That's a yellow line. And it will meet with 156B. At the end of 166B and San Juan Hollister, there will be a temporary signal because that's a small road. We are projecting a lot of traffic there. So we are going to put a temporary signal there. Next slide, please. Okay, so the three things that are going to be in place is that temporary signal, and then at the 156, 156B intersection, there's going to be 2 left turn lanes for people wanting to go west. So that will address the morning peak hour. And for the evening peak hour, when people are coming back from Salinas to Union Road, we will be having a longer right turn lane on 156. So that we think that should address some of the traffic concerns. And to the most part, when that Union Road section is closed, people are going to just continue on 4th Street and get into town and then go that way. They're not going to go back on San Juan Hollister. So that's a plan. It's going to be 2 months starting late June. So it will open back up on August. And when it opens back up, we will be diverting traffic onto the new 156, not the existing 156. Once this is done, we are going to close Mitchell Road for a little bit so that we can work on that intersection. Any questions, anything?
John, anything? Question?
No, thank you for the great presentations. I guess I do have one question. If we're going on to the new 156, that means that you'll take the rest of the time into 2025 to redo the old 156. Is that correct?
Yes, those will be done parallelly, actually. So the 156, the new 156 is not entirely completely going to open. It's just we are redirecting the Union Road traffic onto that road. But we are also starting to work on the existing 156 to get it up to the standard and then relinquish to the city, to the county, sorry.
Is there a bike lane associated with the old 156?
I think the multimodal plan said there is going to be a bike lane.
Okay.
But I have to go back and check that unless Terry is online, Terry Thompson from Caltrans, if she remembers at the top of her head.
I'm here and I don't remember if there is going to be a bike lane. They were going back and forth about exactly how they wanted to configure it. But I believe that there will be additional shoulder on the road, yes.
I remember when we were talking about putting the pipeline between Hollister and San Juan, we were talking about putting it on the existing 156 and making a bike lane so that the weight won't be a problem. I don't know where we are on the project though, because the last I heard that pipeline is going to take a little more time to materialize.
Right. The pipeline's going to take a little more time. They've actually moved that out of my project and the county is going to do that afterwards. But they have not given us the exact direction on how they want to stripe the frontage road once it's resurfaced.
Thank you. I heard rumor of roundabouts. On
Yeah.
the old one, on the old 156 or the new one?
No, there's a roundabout at Bixby on the new 156. And at that roundabout, you'll be able to exit the new 156 to get to the frontage road, which is the old 156.
Got it. Thank you.
Just to clarify, that is not a turbo roundabout, it's a regular
No,
roundabout.
yeah, just the regular one. Yeah, the berms are terrible.
Did you say terrible roundabout or turbo?
Turbo.
I heard terrible.
And that's the only one that's proposed? Just at Bixby?
Just at Bixby, yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Jackie, anything?
No questions. Thank you for the comment.
Nothing? Yeah, that was the big concern that we at COG that we had was the rerouting traffic on San Juan Hollister Road to the business loop 156 without any type of control. Unfortunately, we squawked enough and I think we got that temporary. That was gonna be just a bloodbath. So, and just for information, the reason they have to close Union is because the grade is much higher than the new freeway. So they're gonna have to remove a bunch of soil just to make so that we can, so it matches up. Yeah, yeah. Do we have any public comment on it?
No speaker cards received and seeing nobody on Zoom.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Anu, thank you very much for coming on. Please drive home safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, yeah, no left-hand turns.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night. Okay, we're up to public comment. Liz, you want to knock out any public comment and then we'll do, I think you have a email to read maybe?
Yes.
Okay,
I have one, Mr. Michael Ponce.
that guy.
Hello, I'm not exactly sure if this is a time to do it, but I would like to say it was great to see the soccer team here. Another program in San Juan. So many kids involved. We have a new program starting next month, the Junior Giants, which is a very popular program here for the kids, San Juan. I'm told that we already have 100 kids signed up and that there's a waiting list. We got 6 full teams. But the reason why I'm here is I'm asking if there's any way possible that the Junior Giants program can piggyback off of the new city rec food permit. I'm told that we will be required to have a food permit to sell simple snacks in our snack bar. Simple snacks are packaged candy bars, Snickers bars, sunflower seeds, sodas, bottled water. And this permit is in hundreds of dollars. Is not feasible for the Junior Giants to acquire this permit. The money, Junior Giants program is a nonprofit program. And all the money collected from the snack bar is given back to the kids. We buy the first aid kits, the ice packs. We have a Friday night potluck barbecue that we provide food for the kids. And we're hoping any money left over to use it towards transportation costs to take the kids to the annual Junior Giants Festival at Oracle Park at the end of the year. So we're hoping that somehow, some way, we can work with the city to piggyback off this permit that they have already. I don't know how we can do it. Maybe city be an official sponsor to the Junior Giants program, and then we can use it that way. But I'm hoping that somehow, some way, somehow that we can work that out to help us out with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Liz? That's all right.
I do have a public comment that was received via email, but no other speaker cards or no hands raised on the Zoom.
Okay. You wanna take a shot at, I don't think most of us saw it.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, can you time? Okay. Looking forward to what the city of San Juan Bautista has become, it is imperative that our city officials, city council, take their duties and responsibilities to all residents seriously and do their due diligence. Efficiency and accountability are keys to the functional operations of our city. I am speaking about the Planning Commission and the seat that has been vacant since January 2024. In March of this year, it was voted on and approved that the deadline for applicants for the position of Planning Commission is March 29, 2024, so that the selected commissioners could join the May 8th Planning Commission meeting. The city council was to review applications and conduct interviews immediately. There were applicants who submitted their applications on time. However, after 2 weeks from the deadline, it was discovered that the deadline for applications was extended to mid-April. There were no public notices or announcements of the deadline extension that I saw or heard of. The April deadline passed, and so did the May 8th Planning Commission meeting without a new commission. To date, it has been reported that the applicants have not been notified of an interview date. How do the city and council expect residents to take part in governance or progress of our communities when simple tasks of giving courtesy notices to applicants and conducting interviews for the position cannot even be met by the selected panel? Shouldn't the city council and planning commission work hand in hand to attract more residents to actively participate and commit to making our city better? What is the holdup in the process? The idea of transparency and accountability was introduced in March 2024. No publicly post applications so that all may see the qualifications of each applicant. There's evidence that at least one of them is clearly qualified, educated, capable, and committed to making San Juan Bautista a great place to live. This delay in the process is unprofessional, and it's determined to interest individuals, and being that it is a volunteer position, we should be making this easy and enticing to be part of our city governance rather than making it an unpleasant experience. I hope that the city council would take this to heart and expedite the selection to fill the vacancy seat by the next planning commission meeting of June 4th, 2024. Respectfully, Iraida Hernandez Pisano.
Okay, any other public comments?
And nobody else on Zoom has a raised hand.
Okay, great. We'll move on to, now we have a public hearing on weed abatement, so I'd like to go ahead and open the public hearing and get our report from the fire marshal.
Yeah.
All right, Liz, you right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm Charlie Bedolla. I am your fire marshal. Thank you for having me here tonight. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So tonight, staff recommends that this, I just lost it. Staff recommends that the city council approve a resolution declaring the condition of certain properties to constitute a public nuisance, ordering the abatement of weeds thereon, and conduct a public hearing for the receipt of objections, which is tonight. This public hearing is to hear objections to the proposed abatement of weeds and other flammable materials existing on said properties, and written notices to the proposed abatement. And hearing date was mailed to all affected properties owners in the manner and form required by law on April 16th, 2024. So here we are tonight to hear the objections. If anyone has any objections on it, if not, then we'll continue on with our annual weed abatement process.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment on?
No speaker cards received, and seeing no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, good. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have any council member questions or comments? Anybody? John? Liz? Anything?
Thank you. So this list that we have in front of us, Exhibit A, this is potentially the properties that nobody is contesting, and your department will go out and start weed abatement. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll start the process with that. So we'll get going through that, and we can, like I said, we can get through there. We can start off with citing them through the city, and then moving forward to making sure that we do get compliance.
Okay, and as of the publishing of this, has anybody complied? Are you aware of that at this time?
There has been a few, yeah. There has
Okay,
been
cool.
quite a few that have done it. So I'll have to get through there, and we'll go through there and evaluate it and check it out. And if there are any city properties, because it's like it's a fluent list, it's that aren't on there that are supposed to be on there, if you could just let us know so we could add some. I mean, we're still adding some in our city of Hollister and taking some off as we move along. So, we're not perfect. We don't get them all, but we try to get them all. We do our best, but it takes everyone's help. So if you see any that need to be on there, at least for next year, at least we can get them some notices also for this year to get compliance too.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jackie, anything? Questions?
No, Mayor, no questions.
Questions? Nope. Nope, no more questions. Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it. I know it's kind of tedious doing it.
That's
Myself
okay.
a million times.
The fire season's already starting. We were ahead a few of them already, so it's going.
Yeah, we're good with the big grass crops this year.
Exactly.
Okay, do you have anything else, Troy? Nope. Okay, do you have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Before we move on, can we take a 5-minute break quickly? Yeah. I finished that.
Stop bringing a giant for a reason.
Sorry for making you wait, Michelle.
I don't think she's back.
Oh, she's not.
She's keeping Tom.
Oh, who's got the lead? You got the, okay. You're not gonna read it in her stead?
Are we ready, Liz?
Yes.
We're ready.
Okay. So for the treasurer's report tonight, we're presenting the status of the general fund, which are at 75, revenues are at 77% for the year. And correspondingly, general fund expenditures are 77% as well, so we are in budget. The net effect is a positive change on the general fund balance of $21,000 for the year to date. Usually a little larger than that, so we're doing better at getting projects out this year. The Water Enterprise Fund revenues are at 84% for the year to date, and expenses are also at 84%. The net effect is positive change over the year of $805,000. Wow, I can't read that. The Sewer Enterprise Fund revenues are running at 93% for the year to date, which is very high. The expenses are at 52%. The net effect is a positive change on the Sewer Enterprise Fund of $656,000. Looking at the warrant register, the highest expenses we have for the month include Stanpick Consulting, who's managing our force main project. It looks like we made some bond payments up above the $171,000 on the list, annual bond payments. And those are the largest expenses that we show, other than the normal PG&E and Hollister Fire. And RGS is also doing a lot of recruitment for us, so their number is high this year. If there are any other questions from the council or the community, I'd be happy to take a stab at it. Wendy's not here and the treasurer's still on maternity leave.
Questions? John, anyone? That's all. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Yeah. Good. Public comment. Yep, public comment, yep.
Okay, no, I just was wondering, $8,000 for the State Water Resource Control Board, is that our monthly fine?
No, it's an annual fee that we pay for drawing water from our wells. It's that we pay quarterly, I believe.
We have to pay the state to pump our own water.
Every water system does. Every water.
Even though the
system
state
does.
doesn't own it, they.
Yep.
People's Republic of California, okay, thank you.
It pays the state to regulate us so we can be fined and pay the fines.
No. Yeah. So they're taxes. Okay, Liz, anybody out there? No, a huge crowd today. Okay, I know. Reports from city council representative for your regional organization. John's got his cards, ready? Go.
Okay, so AMBAG met May 8th, and we went over it's basically budgets just like this. So for a couple other things, we adopted our overall work program, which just means what the hell we do. Oh, excuse me, what the heck we do. What the heck AMBAG does and all the consultants and various things they do. We received information on we also adopted a complete street program for all jurisdictions, including this one. And then we, to get grant money, you have to do what's called complete streets, which means multimodal sidewalks, bikeways, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the most important item for the evening was we received information from the statistician on the 2024 regional growth forecast for the 3 counties. Every 4 years, AMBAG is charged with doing that for the 3 counties. And we come up with the growth forecasts. It's based on the following factors: birth rates, death rates, immigration, and migration. And migration would refer to people coming, leaving, either going or coming into the county from other counties, other states, etc. Immigration would be from foreign countries, and birth and death rates are somewhat self-explanatory. Anyway, so the surprising news to me was that the growth rate is going to slow down, way down. We're going to have some of the counties, namely Monterey, might have a negative growth rate. Santa Cruz is predicted to stay level, and we're predicted to have between 0.5% and 1% growth rate for the county of San Benito. And they even include San Juan in there. And I asked specifically why, because we're building lots of houses and we have lots of activity in the county. And the statistician specifically referred to the birth rate, which has dropped from pre-pandemic of 1.9 births per female between the ages of 18 and 45, down to 1.5 per female in between the ages of 18 and 45. And statistician says that makes all the difference in the world. The first governmental agency that will see the effect will be the school districts. And that will be coming probably next year. They'll have fewer kindergartners and first graders and stuff like that. But it'll affect the rest of us also. I do think that what's the word I use? Not immigration, migration from other counties will keep us growing a little bit. But that's the big news from AMBAG. Okay. Second, last April 16th to April 18th, I went to what's called a Cal CCA meeting. That's CCA is California Community Aggregators, which is the people who buy electricity from fossil-free sources and sell it to great people like us, which 3CE or Monterey Bay Community Power is a member of. It was 24 of those CCAs. We met in San Jose for 3 days. About 800 people in the hotel. It was quite a meeting. We talked a lot of stuff, a lot of transmission lines, FERC, grid reliability, rebuilding the grid, where are we going to sign power purchase agreements, which is a contract to purchase power from an independent supplier. All these things were talked about. It was really fantastic. One of the things I'm proud of was that 3CE is in the forefront of doing that. We are, for example, Scott was asking me the other day about fixing the grid. So I'm going to tell you how we're going to fix the grid, Scott. We purchased a power agreement with what's called SunZia, which is in New Mexico. And I know that's a long ways away, but also included in that project, it's a wind farm in New Mexico where the wind blows approximately 95% of the time. So it's very reliable as opposed to our wind here in California, which is very intermittent. And we're going to also, not we, but the people in SunZia are building a new transmission line. This transmission line, it almost sounds as bad as Highway 25. They've been working on a transmission line for 15 years, and now finally, just 2 months ago, they got to go ahead to build a transmission line. Transmission line is going to go all the way from the wind turbines in New Mexico to Los Angeles. So, because that, frankly, is power needs to go to where the load is, but power, even whether it be fossil power, natural gas or coal, or solar and wind and geothermal, are usually located in rural areas. Very rarely are they in downtown. So we need, that's why we need to fix the lines. The lines are being fixed. The lines in California are going to take a long time. There's a lot of them, and we're up against a company called PG&E, which doesn't really always like to do their work efficiently. But it's really exciting. And now I'm going to ask people, we don't have a lot of people online, but I'm going to do it anyway. This was talked a little bit about conference, but I'm going to state that 3CE takes no position on this comment I'm going to make. I'm going to ask everyone to email Robert Rivas and tell him to please reconsider and try and pass AB 1099. And so AB 1099 is a bill that's going to take away a flat fee that PG&E is going to start hitting each and every one of us starting January 1st. It's $24 a month, whether you use 1 kilowatt, 100, 500, or 5,000. It doesn't matter. You're going to hit with that flat fee. So as you can see, a flat fee does nothing to encourage energy conservation. In fact, it discourages energy conservation. It's not, in my opinion, it's a good way to go. The PG&E has argued through their lawyers at the PUC that they need this to make a profit and they need this to fix the grid. I'm here to tell you the wholesale prices for power from utility scale wind is about 4 cents a kilowatt hour. PG&E is charging us 41 cents a kilowatt hour. Think of that difference. Think of that delta. If they can't do that with a delta of 37 cents, they don't deserve to be in business, in my opinion. I'm going to show you another example. If you take your house and move it to Sacramento, you'll pay 3 times less for the exact same amount of power. Literally, a $350 bill for a home that uses about 800 kilowatts per month. It will be about $350 in San Juan, in Marina, anywhere PG&E serves. In Sacramento, where there's something called SMUD, that same bill would be $100. Think of that. So think of that difference. That's $250 you could have in your pocket to do whatever you want with, instead of paying it to PG&E, which in my opinion, this is my opinion only, it's a very poorly managed utility. And that's why we have these high prices. These high power prices are going to help drive people out. We were talking about no growth and growth. They're going to help drive people out of California faster, just as fast as the high housing costs, in my opinion. Also drives away business too from California. So we need to get PG&E back on the road to a decent rate schedule. The other utilities in California, they're not quite as efficient as SMUD, but they would still only pay $200 for what we pay $350 for, like at Cal Edison down in LA and in places like that, and San Diego Gas and Electric, they would still only pay about $200, $220. So we're being, each of us, because all of us live in PG&E's service area, we're being literally raked over the coals by them in the worst possible way. And you just need to, the AB 1099 was tabled by frankly, Robert Rivas and his cohorts. They didn't really want to vote on it. And we need to email him and tell him to bring it back up and vote on it. And because if you give PG&E the right to lay a flat fee without any caps, and this bill has no caps on that flat fee, or the previous, excuse me, I don't mean to confuse everyone, but the previous way they do it had no caps. It's going to be worse than 41 cents a kilowatt hour. It'll be pretty soon, it'll be 50 and then 60 cents a kilowatt hour. Then none of us will be able to afford to live in California. So those are my fears. Thank you.
LAFCO, we talked about seating special districts. That'll be later on in city manager's presentation, or later on in the agenda, sorry. And we also are in the process of updating the commissioner handbook. There have been a couple of workshops by our executive director on with special districts, and it sounds like the majority of them are accepting of this new phase. Intergovernmental, we talked about dark sky. Visit San Benito came and did a presentation, and Hazel Hawkins gave us a small presentation. And then there's another presentation on Hazel Hawkins on Thursday at 5:30 to get an update on that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry, nothing to report this month.
I did my part to repopulate San Benito County.
Good. Good.
And that's all I've been doing for the past month.
Hey, I don't want to, I don't know if I want to add any more from COG, other than we got, just some updates and we're working on our budget. We're going to work off of more of a proactive budget. It used to be they would spend money and then ask for the money. But now we're actually putting a budget together and spending what we have. Let's see, we haven't had a planning area meeting, and on that subject, things got a little rogue in the planning area, the UGB committee. A couple members took it upon themselves to go speak to 3, if not 4, county supervisors on the subject without our knowledge. Not happy with that lack of transparency, and it's, you know, it's not, I've been guaranteed that it's not a Brown Act violation, but it's the perception of the move. And with that, I'm going to remove myself from the committee. I feel that I feel we've accomplished our goal. We've all voted for the sphere of influence in the urban growth boundaries or maps. This planning area is doing nothing but dragging this process on, and then it got muddied. So I am going to pull myself off of it. So we'll have to work on appointing somebody new next month. And that's all I have. Okay. City council announcements. John, anything? You want to bash on PG&E a little more? Okay. Any announcements? Leslie, any announcements?
I do. Luna Gallery has a couple of things going on called Beyond the Wall, celebrating the personal artistry of Chicano, Latino, and indigenous communities based muralist. June 15th from 5 to 7 is a reception and artist talk, followed by a film called Strawberry Picker at 7 p.m. And if I didn't mention it already, our San Juan Bautista Young Women's Soccer Club has the Foothill Classic Tournament May 25th and 26th at the Morgan Hill Outdoor Sports Complex. Cheer them on. Support.
Did you want to give the Mike kudos first?
Yeah.
Publicly?
Yeah.
And then give him kudos for the Junior Giants.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can do that now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Michael, thank you so much for all you do for the Junior Giants. We appreciate you.
That's right. America's pastime.
Good.
Let's see.
Just want to remind everybody, and I know some of you have been going, every Wednesday we have the senior luncheon at La Casa Maria. The church has been very generous in donating the space, and it's being led by our former mayor, Mary Edge. She's now designated and has the title of a nonprofit, but there's a strong show out. I was told last week there were 35 seniors that attended that lunch, and it's solely all volunteers, donated food. Cooks are Karen Stacy and her daughter Sasha. And it's just a really nice outing for the local seniors, and they really enjoy it. On a lighter note, this coming Saturday, there's I think maybe 6 or 8 comedians coming to Bears Hideaway.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them I found out was a doctor that I worked with a few years back, Dr. Julius Ramirez. He's a young doctor, well, back then he was. And it just kind of happened that I found out he was one of the comedians. His side gig is he's a stand-up comedian, so I'm looking forward to reconnecting with him this Saturday night at Bears Hideaway.
After baseball, after soccer.
After soccer, yes.
I got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's big news. I'd like to to parrot off you on the senior. Yes, last week was 30 to 35. The week before I actually sat in and had lunch and there was 30. So Mary's doing a great job. I want to thank her, Karen, Stacy, Sasha, Stacy, my wife, Shauna's have been helping. Yep. We are even gonna get my mom down there, believe it or not. So the hermit is leaving the cave, so this will be great. And then the peak day celebrations the last few years has been at the VFW. You know, San Juan Canyon Road's taking a beating. The state park's not in that good a shape. This year's really good turnout. It was kind of a actually three things happened. We had peak day, which is a real quick celebration, and then the Clampers threw a cornhole tournament to raise money for the San Juan school for school supplies, and then we had the flag bear. The scouts did the flag burning ceremony, and that was really informational for a ton of people. And they did an outstanding job. So really fun day. If you see the open sign down at the VFW, it's a cash only, canteen, but the coldest and best drinks in town. So hop in down there. Yeah. So, and then, well, we've got a couple other things to talk about the rib cook-off coming up. So I won't say anything but that's all I have on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Just forgot to announce, if you didn't buy your tickets, the San Juan Bautista Historical Society is on June 1st at the Mission RV Park Barn. They're hosting a barbecue, and it's going to be the chef will be Ron Vaccarezza and his wife Bernadette, and it's going to be a traditional chicken barbecue, try to relive the memory of the old San Juan Bautista rodeo. I guess they have limited seating. If you want to try to find them, go to the Facebook page and see if they have any tickets left. They're going to do a thing where they have a panel. So they're going to have some people, old timers, going to reminisce about, share your stories about the rodeo, how it was, maybe photos. I don't know. You can wear your Western gear. So it sounds like a lot of fun.
Old timers like me, you, and Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, dig up some photos. They need to see some photos. You got some? Oh, great. Okay. Great. Good call. I totally forgot about that. Okay. City managers report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few slides for you. A lot going on. In the past 10 days, had a lot of concerning phone calls from regulators and others. They all have June 30 deadlines, but I'll cover all of that for you tonight. I gave a rather lengthy status report about 10 days ago on Friday before I left, so some of that is in this report as well. On May 3rd and May 4th, the City Council worked on updating its 5-year strategic plan. We had Citygate come and Stacy Bristow worked with us. The strategic plan was adopted first in August 2023. So we reviewed the 1-year progress of it and reevaluated, reassessed our strategies and goals. So a critical part of the budget, recreation, reorganizing public safety, changing our office hours, improving employee service and communications were all focus of that strategic plan. We reviewed the 63 goals and considered their priorities, and those priorities have been reflected in your budget and will be carried forth in the draft budget being presented tonight. The status from last year's priorities of the 63 goals addressed. There were 54 goals that were addressed, completed, or still in process. So we're making progress on some of these. We're almost done. For example, we hired our public safety coordinator. We have notified our private security of the end of their contract, June 30th. And we have interviewed the community services code enforcement officer position. So we'll complete the reorganization of our public safety here within the next few weeks, assuming our top choice accepts the position will be staffed. So that's an example of progress moving forward. Of course, we know that we've hired Caitlin Brady, who will be talking later today about recreation. And that's been a big step, a bold step for us, and we're learning, taking our lumps a little bit, but we'll talk about those details when we get to that part. But we've hope to we will be opening our office hours till 5 p.m. At the after Memorial Day, now that we've brought on our new admin assistant. So that's just the status of some of our goals moving forward. We have established a mission statement, a vision statement, and our core values, and those are there in the staff report for people to read. Collaboration, honesty, resourcefulness, accountability, and integrity are our core values as a city moving forward. And then the city staff also looked at their own role in this process as requested in the original strategic plan. So on Friday, the 3rd of May, we sat together as a team and came up with a service philosophy that includes respect, consistent equal treatment, and knowledge. And knowledge meaning to be resourceful, timely in training, and to know our audience. Equal treatment is about care and inclusion, and respect is about listening first, asking questions, and communicating clearly, and providing resolutions. So with that, hiring philosophy that we've been practicing a lot in the last few months, ethical, dependable, and team-oriented. That's our hiring philosophy. So we put that behind every recruitment flyer and every interview that we do. And these are the types of, these are the character types that we're looking for to bring on as city staff. Again, we have of the 63 goals, 25 of those are priority 1 goals, meaning that we have 25 goals to get through, as well as operating our regular city business from day to day. We have priority 2 goals are 14 and priority 3 goals are 7. So not in city purview are 2 of those goals having to do with the regions around us. But we do have an influence through LAFCO and MBAG and COG, so those are listed there as well. So these are all provided in more detail on the city's website. The strategic plan is there, and just to know that it's a guiding tool that we use for our budget. Special events, we have a new focus on safety with Roy coming on board. So happy to have a retired deputy sheriff as our public safety coordinator. We also have the rec assistant taking the lead with the applicants and muddling through all the details. So we'll get the maps and things straightened out, and we'll get all the details organized in good shape, at least for the next one. We're still working on fixing some of that. We're revamping the application, and we're developing a formal fee schedule for the application. We have the rib cook-off debriefing on this agenda, and special events coming up in the future include the Rotary Rainbow Run and the Los Padrinos Car Show in June. Becoming a certified filming location. When a few of the council members and I traveled to Sacramento, I asked that we meet with the California Film Commission to find out that they were in Hollywood. So they followed up, and I spoke with them directly. And I have some experience with this in Moore Park back in the 90s when the California Film Commission came up with a model ordinance, application process, and fee schedule. And back then, that city was very stubborn because they'd been hurt by filming. They wanted to close the major freeway, and the state overruled, and even Governor Bradley at the time, Governor Bradley, wrote us a nasty letter about how mean we were to filming industry. That was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who wanted to close the 218 freeway, who later became governor. So that city didn't get any break. This city had a great experience with Warner Brothers, and it's a good way to get our name out there, especially in terms of tourism. Can't wait to see how our city appears on Warner Brothers movie that was filmed in late February. So we are to receive a model ordinance and come back. And if we jump through all these hoops properly, we'll be promoted as a certified location by the California Film Commission. So that's a goal that we should strive for. I think it should be in our strategic plan. Budget workshops will be scheduled they can be scheduled. I wrote this slide 4 days ago, and obviously we're introducing the budget May 21st with the proposed adoption at our regular meeting June 18th. We've been working with Hollister concerning interest in the fire services contract. The city council addressed that 2 weeks ago, concerns that we weren't paying our fair share. We met with the Hollister city manager and police chief on Monday, Roy and I, last Monday, with a focus on fire and animal regulation services. We're supposed to receive a proposal for animal regulation services, and they're responding to some questions that I had regarding the fire contract. And there's more of that in the budget, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it now. We met new Fire Chief John Golding tonight. That was great. We didn't think he'd be able to make it because Hollister changed their meetings to the same day, Tuesdays. We're developing a non-profit funding process in the budget. I have more slides and details later in the meeting on that process as part of our budget. So we are opening the city hall in the afternoon, scheduled after Memorial Day. We will be closed for lunch like Hollister. So as staff goes to lunch and there's not very many people here, we'll just close the door and give people condition to coming up from 1 to 5 and from 9 to noon. As I mentioned, we are interviewing community service code enforcement officers. We filled our maintenance 2 worker position, and that position should start a week from Monday, right? And that's really good news. We have a local resident with some great experience who will be a great addition to our team. And then we are sad to say that Carlos Figueroa, who is retired from the school district, is now retiring from San Juan Bautista at the same time as we fill our maintenance worker 2 position. So Carlos is often seen on Monday mornings helping to clean up 3rd Street, part-time maintenance worker who will be retiring. And it looks like we have filled the library vacancy positions this week, and that's very exciting. And so we're going to get the library up to speed, not only by filling the vacancies, but by helping them with some IT and some computer purchases. And Chad's been helping out over there, our admin assistant. So we're trying to provide them more support than we have in the past. And I think it's working well. May 3rd and 4th City Council workshop. Oh my gosh, these are all duplicates. Okay, great. This is a duplicate. Okay, great. This is what happens when your city manager's in a hurry. Yes. So we've already done these, Okay, that's that. Okay. Recreation moving forward. We realize that when Caitlin Brady is not available, that probably the city manager or volunteers will have to fill in. So we're considering a part-time position. The cost would be offset by program fees, which we're going to talk about later. But recruiting volunteers is a top priority, and that's why that's on your agenda tonight. Is a volunteer program guided by Sira, our liability insurance folks, helping us make a program that protects the city as well as the volunteers. Working with the Youth Alliance, YMCA, and senior organizations, so we don't have to staff all of these events. We can just sponsor them and help them move forward. Movie night on Fridays seems to be growing in popularity, but I think that'll grow faster as the evenings warm up. I know some of you have attended. Thank you for supporting that program. And the Monday Night Madness has been extended through August. We recently heard from some of the food trucks that participate in that they look forward to that growing possibly into a farmer's market and into a regular event for us. So that's been reasonably successful at a very low cost. In community development, we've been working on the zoning code revisions to move forward, allowing food trucks and pop-up uses in non-permitted uses of the temporary pop-up businesses. We had community workshops on Saturday, May 18th, and on Monday, May 20th. We could be considering a first reading as soon as June 18th. I know that a draft email of revisions is already being circulated with the city engineer's office and planner Magda Gonzalez. So we're hoping to bring that forward, but we were directed to bring that forward to the planning commission next and then have another workshop and then bring it to the council. So I would amend this slide, having written it last week, that we'd probably be back for first reading in July or maybe in August, because the community input has been very vigorous, and so we're making bigger changes than I thought when I wrote this last week. It's great to see Neal's Market and Casa Rosa both moving forward to occupancy. Finally, it's interesting that they're moving together at the same time, but you notice that they're going to have a wonderful meat selection, and I don't know if they're going to do barbecue or not, so watch out, Smoke Point. But we look forward to that store coming online. And then working with Casa Rosa, we heard from the owner today about the housing upstairs. Remember, those 4 units are all median income and restricted, so those will be affordable, and hopefully employees of the commercial space will be able to live upstairs. That's the ideal that we were shooting for there, the 4 new apartments. The gas station is entitled. It was awarded on 5/7, so we're moving forward with a development agreement and getting ready to review their building plans. So that's really exciting, all of this project. Let's see. Get through this, on the wastewater permitting
Can
program.
can I ask a
Sure.
question back on the gas station?
Sure.
Is the dome agreement gonna include all the provisions for the not the merge lane, but the right-hand turn lane and the re-acceleration lane on the other thing? That's something you and the city attorney might wanna make sure all those i's are dotted and t's crossed.
Okay, right, so, about a year and a half ago, it was decided that the city would take the lead on the right-of-way acquisition for the right-hand turn lane. But their engineering firm is submitting plans to Caltrans that have been reviewed and are very close to approval. So the right-hand turn lane is part of the entitlement conditions. There are, I believe, 48 conditions as part of their land use entitlement that was approved at this last meeting, or reapproved, I'll say. It was originally approved in 2016 and has been reapproved. So I just received an appraisal for that piece of right of way, and we're going through an eminent domain process because the owner of that little house on the corner doesn't want anything to do with us. So, so the right-hand turn lane is a condition of a broader program. What the subdivision agreement will do is outline all the fees that are required to be paid, and will outline all the public improvements that will be required to be made. So, sidewalks, driveway aprons, street trees, lighting, all those things that we will eventually own will need to be constructed to our satisfaction, to our city engineer's satisfaction, the storm drain inlets and so forth. So that's what that agreement will look like. It'll be much more specific than the right-hand turn lane. So,
Okay.
so it's already addressed, and we're gonna create more conditions. All right. Wastewater, we have a settlement agreement for our wastewater program, with the state, the Water Resources Control Board. And we requested an extension of the deadline for that agreement back in January, and they called last week and said we have till June 30th to get that approved. And so I thank them for the timeliness of their response, being sarcastic. And we got that request finally to them and signed Friday afternoon. It's about a 7-page letter that explains that the electronics for our pump stations have an 80-week wait time that is unreasonably out of our control. And secondly, our project came in over budget. And so we stopped to value engineer our project for about 3 months last summer when the USDA came in and gave us a hand with that. So we have a few delays extending the completion date out to October 2026. It's likely that this project will be constructed and then we'll be waiting for these electronics. She didn't choose the right. Sorry, Leslie, I misspelled coliform. This is our meeting before the council meeting tonight. So anyway, they got our request on time within the 30 days. And so we hope they'll grant that extension because they've known for so long that we weren't going to make this June deadline. And I thought I've been keeping the council abreast on that extension request as well. But anyway, just to bring it back home because now it's submitted and the deadline is before us. Looking into concerns regarding coliform violations, I just received an email yesterday from our operator. He only cited 3 or 4 violations last calendar year, all of 2023. Didn't realize what they said to me over the phone was that we were looking at violations in excess of $200,000. And when we weren't sure how the water board was getting to that total, and they haven't provided any detail. So I'm hoping they were looking at the wrong district or something, because our operator and his reports don't jive with the conversation I had with them. So this is the last outstanding item from that call about 10 days ago with the water board. The first quarter report was filed yesterday. We have laid 5 miles, 5.06 miles of the 7 miles of pipe. And I've given the council a copy of that first quarter report that has the 3 month by month status reports from our contractor, Specialty Instruction. The Rancho Vista work will happen this first week in June, I promised. I know we went out and noticed and got everyone all excited. And you are probably still concerned about the pipes that are sitting out there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I told the city engineer that. He thinks we'll use them. I don't know what to say. I don't know what the situation is with Loaiza, the destination either, so we can talk about that offline. EJ. Importing drinking water, Councilwoman Lofgren's office has championed our projects. We learned Friday that she supports our $3 million request for federal funding for that project. It's a $15 million total budget. So last time, working with Panetta's office, their initial contribution was leveraged to convince the state that it should support it as well. So I hope we can gain some momentum and get as much of that $15 million funded by state and federal agencies as possible. And we're having success so far, thanks to the help of Dmitry Siminoff, our financial advisor. The state requests are still very important, but they may take until August. So just because the state is adopting a budget June 30 and there are trailer bills that are happening in Sacramento all the way through the end of August. And so he wants to make sure that our requests for funding from the state senator and speaker of the House are still in there and still being considered. With the new general manager coming to the water district, we've had several discussions over ownership of the pipeline. And it's critical to determine now because we need to execute our agreement to import water with the water district as soon as possible. As proposed, the city will build it and own it, and then possibly transfer the easements to the district to maintain. The district wants that to happen for a couple reasons. They're looking at a pipe between West Hills Treatment Plant and Union Road that's larger than the pipe that we need because they want to sell water to Hollister on the north side of 156. So we would own the pipe from Union Road to San Juan Bautista. That's what we need to work towards, because when we look for these grants and loans, we need to be able to show these elected officials the asset that we've gotten, the groundbreaking and everything else that happens. So I've talked to the members of the council, a lot of them independently about this, and there's a lot more details to go there. But we met with Lofgren's office Monday, and she had a lot of great things to say and a lot of support for our city. And she's also buddies with the grower. She knows Taylor, so she can get us connected to Taylor Farms and open that door for us. That would be just super. So that's about it for my status report. Sorry for the duplicate slides. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
John, any questions?
No, I had asked my question already on the gas station. Thank you.
Okay. Leslie?
Hang on. I think all my questions have been answered. Why did we go to Monday Night Madness instead of Monday Night Lights? It's terrible. It's terrible.
The event is ending before the lights are turned on.
Still don't like it.
We kind of figured that out the first event.
Do we have a date for Neil's Market?
No, it's entirely up to them. It's that dormant, it seemed dormant for several months and now they've really cleaned it up, it's looking better.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say I'm sad that Mayor Reels is leaving the committee, the urban growth. Done a lot of good work with you. I'm gonna miss you. Sorry you had to leave, but you're leaving.
I'm still living here.
No, but you're leaving the committee. So anyway, I totally understand what you're saying. The only question I have for City Manager Dawn is, you mentioned that Zil Lofgren knows Taylor Farms, and you need to talk with the growers. In what context do we need to talk to the growers, and how can she help with that?
We're asking the growers to redirect their wastewater to connect to our force main on San Justo Road. And I haven't had the opportunity to have those discussions, but she can get their attention better than I can, put it that way.
And she also asked them to pay us towards the fines.
She's at the table, I'm a little bolder.
Cash on.
I'm willing to ask that question with her. That's for sure. She's holding some big reception for Taylor next month. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, if they give money like they do at the CASA event that we attended,
Oh, right.
yeah, $6,500 for an Airbnb, 75 for Super Bowl. I want a kayak, 2 kayak tickets. Yeah.
Good. Any question? Just a couple, let's see, the Casa Rosa occupancy, that's a big checkbox, isn't it? We get to knock out, was that medium housing for the next like 5 years or something?
10 years,
10
10
years.
years restricted, and like I said, the owner's already called me to find out what those rent rates are, because you know, he's all about the bottom line.
Yeah,
And I'm sure they're higher than they were, when the project was approved.
yeah.
Wait, what? He gets to go over 1750? I remember that number.
It's a market rate number.
Yeah, whatever. I think
So-
we should hold him to it.
Well, it's
It's
he's
a
still
number
gonna,
determined by HUD for our zip code.
yeah, he's still gonna move. That's a big one. I mean, we get to check a big box on that. Yeah, in the housing room.
And the sales tax from the commercial spot. Hapa said they needed a place.
Let's hope they put in a,
They were gonna put a restaurant down there.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and it used to be a Japanese restaurant when it first began, so it's pretty interesting. Full circle. The fire discussion at the Hollister City Council, only 2 council members were squawking, not the entire council. So, food for thought on that. Let's see. Carlos, can we get him something? I don't know, plaque or something. The guy's, I mean, you go downtown and I'm walking first thing in the morning and he's waving, he's all happy. I mean, he's just so happy to do his job here. And he's a San Juan boy, right? He's a San Juan boy. I mean, it would be, I mean, can we at least, if he hasn't already retired, I mean.
No, he hasn't. We still got him for another week at least.
Give him the key to the city, yeah.
He should.
Yeah. Yeah. A gift certificate to JJ's or something, yeah.
Get out of jail quick.
And on the intimate domain thing, is that something you're not gonna be able to do that unilaterally? I mean, that's something we're gonna have to discuss, right?
It'll take a resolution, et cetera, yeah, but now that we have the appraisal, we can make the official offer. And we've hired a company called Hamner Jewel out of San Luis Obispo who are experts at this. So we've got good guidance and then John is in the loop as well. So
Okay. Not a big fan of the intimate domain.
for a slice of real estate the size of this room, pretty much.
Okay, and let's see, any public comment?
Well, it's still on. On the city manager's report, I just, my 2 favorite subjects, wastewater and imported drinking water. I have a question on, need to lobby state for reasonable permit limits. I don't know if any entity has been able to get the state to adjust our limits. I'm hoping that we can, but do we have a plan B? And if we have a plan B, what is the plan B? Because it seems to me that if we don't get these reasonable permit limits, we're at a stalemate. And we're spending over $40 million on these 2 projects. If we can't get our water and send our waste, what do we do? And I know I'm gonna be up against a time limit, so I would respectfully ask that any one of you council members would continue the discussion for me. Thank you.
Any more public comment?
No hands raised.
Okay, back to us. Any more questions? I think that,
I think I'm gonna go ahead and not entertain, but piggyback off of public comment, Mr. Michael Ponce. His question, what can we do to get the state to move that needle and help us out?
In working with M&S, our engineers on this matter, The plan B is probably going to be one of looking at Hollister and asking them. They are in violation of their chloride limits right now. There's 8% additional of water that is sometimes above the limit and sometimes not. What kind of impact does that have to them? And our agreement is not real specific. It gives us some wiggle room there. So we may have to beg for compassion from Hollister and come to an agreement on a separate limit between the two cities, because we would not be responsible for pushing them over their limit. They're already over their limit. So we need to, we would need to go back to Hollister and do the local conversation if the state conversation doesn't work.
And there was talk, if I remember right, there was some type of talk about the two of us teaming up, the two cities teaming up on a, if push came to shove. I mean, is this the same outfit that we've already went to battle with?
I'm not certain. We had a great meeting with Speaker of House Representative on water and parks, and he's gonna help us look into that. We have a partner in the San Benito County Water District as well, because when they did their mandated groundwater report, they didn't report chloride as being an issue for their groundwater. So therefore, why would it be an issue for us? And for Hollister, because we're gonna be sending, remember, our water to Hollister to be treated. So Jeff Catano thought that he would be able to sway his board into supporting us as well. So if we can get the two cities in the county and the water district together with our elected officials, maybe we can have some strength in our swing.
Yeah, because if we're sending them cleaner water, and the West Hills sitting on cleaner water, and I would think that's gonna knock down the solution to pollution is dilution type thing, right? And maybe we need to figure a model out on that. I mean, well, not us personally, but that's somebody with a big old giant head figuring that stuff out. But
yeah, and M&S has stepped up, and the speaker has read through all 17 pages of their memo, and he knows that they're pretty skilled at what they're doing. So we have the technical support.
And this is from the Regional Water Quality Control Board down in San Luis Obispo area. So every wastewater plant in this area has the same issues.
same issue.
Their background waters are higher than
In reality, yeah.
what their effluent limits require for the plant.
And these are the same folks that we had
Whether it's
to,
the same division, I'm not sure.
same division, yeah. Well, I'm sure it's the same.
They'll get the table. So I've tried not to piss them off.
No, well, I think we already did when we whooped them, but
Oh, that was years ago.
yeah, I know, but I'm sure there's still some open wounds. Mike, you got a minute, and I saw a minute in 20 seconds.
Okay, so if Hollister can't meet their limit or their permit, and they end up getting fined, since we're sending our stuff to them, are we gonna have to pay 8% of that fine? Because we're basically 8% of everything that's over there.
Michael, I think it's like buying a used car or renting an apartment, and you let the new tenant, so we're the new tenant, so we get to tour the apartment and make note of all the problems they have before our water enters their system.
But what I'm asking is, so if the state doesn't provide any reasonable limits and Hollister's up against the wall, so they're gonna be in the same situation we are, is they're gonna be being fined. So can they impose a portion of that fine, 8%, because we're basically 8% of their total over there? Can they impose that fine to us? Our goal for this whole project is to get away from paying fines. We might end up having to continue to pay fines.
The agreement isn't specific to that. It says that we'll be accountable if we're causing disruption to them. So if we end up sending something that's so bad that it causes their system to go out of whack, then you could point the finger. But until then, it wouldn't be clearly our fault. I don't know. And that's a really good question.
Okay, and to piggyback on that,
Mike, we gotta move on. Thanks. Thank you, Mike.
Happy to meet with you tomorrow.
Yeah. Mike. Okay, so moving on to fire department update. We still have.
Charlie's still online?
Hello, Charles.
Yeah, I'm still on here.
Thanks, Charlie.
I'm still here. For the fire department, for the month of April, we had no fires, 11 medicals, 15 vehicle accidents, conducted 18 inspections. Vehicle accidents included those outside the San Juan Bautista city limits. Inspections included new businesses, Fat Willie's Antiques, Fabric Man, residential inspections, follow up on some apartments that are out of compliance. We're trying to get those all up and good and running. We had the special event rib cook-off. And then we've been continuing on with our annual business inspections for the year of 2024. But in addition, San Juan Canyon, we conducted, our contractor did the shaded fuel break all the way up San Juan Canyon. I know it's in the county, but it's still kind of San Juan Bautista. So the road work is done. If you haven't gone up there and checked it out, all the way up to Fremont's Peak. Looks good. Looks really good. They did a really good job. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Question, John? That's a question. Jackie?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Charlie. That was part of that $600,000 grant or whatever you got recently.
Exactly, the 677. So that was the first year that we finally got to it. They get another year, and then we're going to get a piece of equipment for the county to continue on with that. With a tractor and a boom mower, with it to be able to hit the wood side and everywhere else in the county too.
Oh, great. And they were going to do Cienega Road also?
Yeah, they're working on Cienega right now. They did San Juan Canyon first, and now they're working on Cienega right now.
That's good. Those were our target locations.
Yeah. Then after we get through this, then we'll reevaluate because it was a big learning curve for us on this grant and managing the grant. And then we could expand it out towards like 129 out towards Aromas. Cal Fire can't put in for those, but we could help out and assist what we could do to get those shaded fuel breaks taken care of on that side of San Juan Bautista too, and other parts of the county. So this was a good little our foot in the water, but I think we're getting a lot of good experience with it and learning how to take care of it.
Great. Thank you. Any public comment? Any more questions? Moving right along. Oh,
Rochelle's here from the library for a quick update. Thank you, Rochelle.
oh, okay. Next thing I have Sheriff's Department.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Desi was gonna be here, our dedicated sheriff, but he's not.
Okay.
And Roy has got, before he was hired, had some personal obligations tonight.
Okay, so we can bump past the sheriffs and public safety,
Thank you.
or do you want to cover public?
No, I don't have anything to report.
Okay, Rochelle, you're on.
Except that the security camera should actually be turned on this week.
Oh, awesome, okay.
Will we get a location?
It's a secret.
I figured.
Secret.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Sure.
Just a couple of slides. So the public knows, the library status report, recreation status report, city manager status reports are all located on our website. So you can go to our website if you're curious about any of those city programs and see for yourself.
All right. So the first slide is who are we? And I have that question because I know before I became a staff member, I printed out a copy of the municipal code for my own personal use. And in there, Title 6, Chapter 1, Section 105, it's to be known as the San Juan Public Library. That's back from 1905. In 1979-ish, we became the Carl Martin Luck Memorial Library. We have that lovely plaque hanging inside the library from Alex Zeller stating that we're the Carl Martin Luck Memorial Library.
I refer to us as the San Juan Bautista City Library because that's who pays my paycheck. And then online, all of our social media accounts are at SJB City Library, because Bautista is very hard to spell. So is library, apparently. I don't know how you update the municipal code, but that might be something to consider, just so that when I go to PLP meetings and MOBAC, it's always this Carl Martin Luck / San Juan Bautista City Library. And so I would like to have us just have one name. On the next slide, we keep track of everything that's going on in the city. We don't always get everything. And sometimes we add it to our calendar before it has an official name. So at the June 1st Historical Society meeting just says annual meeting. It doesn't reference the fiesta there. And we keep track of all of this in Basecamp. The important dates for us to know are when school is in session and when they're not. And we try to plan our events around everybody else's events. So we'll have 3 Arts in the Park events on June 22nd, July 24th, and August 17th. Next slide. And then, like Dawn said, we interviewed 6 candidates last week. We hired 2 additional part-time staff members from that pool of candidates. Julio and Cindy should be joining us next week. We needed them because Delia retired on April 19th, and it's become more difficult to operate with just 1 staff member in the building, as both foot traffic and programming has increased. We used to fill some of that with library auxiliary, and they have lost a few members over the last few years, and so we aren't able to pull from that resource as much. We do have 2 regular high school students that come in. The laptops that were donated by LULAC are quickly approaching their end of life, and in the budget we already have funding for 1 additional workstation, and so that will be ordered as soon as we figure out exactly which one we would like. My ask is that it have the CD or DVD player included, because a lot of people get their medical records on a disc and they're not able to read them. So having that available for our residents is a priority for me. And then we'd like some direction on pursuing the desire to go fine free. We found that patrons are more likely to return the materials if there's no monetary component or fine associated with their visit. San Benito County Free Library is also considering going fine free, so I'd like to do so at a similar time frame as they are, if that's at all possible. So, thank you, Mayor and City Council.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for anybody? Nothing? Questions, John?
The only one I can think of off the top of my head, how much money, if any, do we get off the fines? I mean,
Not much. It's 25 cents per day at a max of $7 per item. And we haven't been charging since 2020. And we have seen a lot of, well, when I first started, I found 7 titles that were on the shelf where the patron had over $200 in fines, and we had the material right there. We had a lot of computer bad data migration in June of 2017 before I started. And in fixing that, we found a lot of books that were accruing fines that were actually still on the shelf. And then we never really did make anything that would pay for anything from the fines.
so the hit to the budget would be minimal, if anything.
Yeah, we'd have to go back to the 2019 budget to see what we brought in on fines.
Generally less than $500.
Yeah,
Usually $200.
thank you, Don.
Yes. 2 tanks of gas.
Not diesel.
No. Anything? No? Anything?
No, I just want to say thanks for the report, and glad that we got 2 more helpers out there, because every time I've been in there, you guys
Yeah.
are always busy. There's
Yeah.
a lot of foot traffic in there now, so.
Yeah, community help for
congratulations.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, are any of the towers that I donated weren't making use, or were those not able to be used?
We weren't able to utilize them, unfortunately.
Okay.
We was hopeful, but yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Michelle, for hanging in there. I don't know if I think I've already mentioned this. She's got a great resource for, what's going on in town and even asking questions for our seniors and some folks that need some help. So thank you very much. Any-
One thing that is, a resident mentioned the other day, they actually live in the county of San Juan Canyon. And they were upset because, they were buying a car and the sales tax in the county is different than that here in the city. And they are getting charged the city sales tax rate, even though they live in the county because of their zip code. I'm like, I can't help you there. But
1-800 franchise tax board,
yeah.
and don't expect somebody to answer.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment? No, anything else, folks? No, good, thank you. You're off the hook. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent? We're at consent. No, I think did we skip public safety? No, Don, were you good?
No, we don't have a report tonight.
Yeah, no worries.
You missed that. No, we had that
bumped
conversation.
up. Okay, John, do you want to put anything consent?
No.
Leslie, anything?
Sorry, can I just pull E so we can get the dates out there verbally?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything? Anything? Jackie?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay, do we have a motion to approve A, B, C, D, F, and G?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios,
Yes.
motion carried.
E, thank you. I just wanted to get out there all of the dates and I can't readily find that now. For filing. This is for, the November general election, November 5th, 2024 general election. The dates, if anybody, wishes to,
Nomination period.
full nomination, thank you very much. The period for filing opens on Monday, July 15th, 2024 and closes Friday on August 9th. Vote often, wait, sort of like that. Thank you.
And also just to mention that if the incumbents decide not to run, then it gets extended 5 days to the 14th.
Thank you for that. Thank
Yeah,
you for
any more
indulging.
questions? Okay, motion to approve, what was that, E?
E, I make a motion to approve E.
Second.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay.
Here it is, I have budget slides.
That's down here.
Pause for dinner.
Okay. Number 9, action item A, fiscal year 24-25 draft budget.
No, those weren't them.
Yeah.
There you go, budget introduction. No, see, budget introduction. There you go. Well, let's end it sooner than later.
I think we've all received it. Sorry.
There's some duplication here, so we can run through a lot of this. Again, based on the strategic plan, we reviewed the goals for the 23-24 year and the initiatives that we set forth to improve communications between city and the community, tell the story of various projects and initiatives. We adopted core values, vision, mission statement, service philosophy, and hiring philosophy, with the priorities being infrastructure, recreation, and public safety. The council directed me to publish the accomplishments that our accomplishments for the year. And so I turned these into a Mission Village Voice article. All they could say was they couldn't promise me the same formatting, but that they would publish our accomplishments. It turns out to 215 words, and I get 300. So there you go. We should be able to get these in the Mission Village Voice next month. Again, a number of things that we've already discussed tonight, but I think we haven't discussed our fiscal stability, our clean audits, and our balanced budgets for the last few years. We are looking at potentially large increases in public safety contracts, which I'll discuss later in this presentation. We've updated our chart of accounts, implemented a new municipal accounting software, and we're working on a 5-year CIP, capital improvement plan. The infrastructure, we've already touched on the highlights of that. I just wanted to point out the microbial nitrate treatment plant for well 6 is going out to bid in the next few weeks. So that'll be part of our CIP moving forward, as well as including the import of the surface water from the water districts. Economic development, we've had some hits and misses there. We did assist the county complete their economic development plan, their strategy, and contributed to the reorganization of the SB County Economic Advisory Committee, which is exciting because this is a regional approach, and there's a new nonprofit coming on board to promote tourism, so we can benefit from both of these regional approaches and see some cost efficiencies there, rather than having our own try and bite at the apple. I think we need a balance of both a personal San Juan Bautista economic vision, but these regional programs are evolving and including us, so we should take advantage of that. Public safety, including disaster preparedness. I don't think the community is aware. We've talked about the restaffing and reorganizing. I mentioned the citywide camera security system. We've also adopted Resolution 2023-09 and a new multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. And we've been having regular training for staff with the County Office of Emergency Services. And we actually used that plan during the floods, and we were in 4 states of emergency in 2023. And so that's been a very effective tool for us. I just wanted to bring that to the community's attention. It's on our website if you need to see it. This is hard to read. I'm sorry, I did my best to get cleaner slides for this, but this is the executive brief that's in your budget and in your staff report. It talks about our core about our core values, our mission statement, vision statement, and core values. I've already referenced them in my monthly status report, so I won't go through them again. I just wanted to reiterate that they're here. And we've already covered this slide in the monthly report as well. So just to know that we have a strategic plan, we're following it, and that gives guidance to our budget. So we've drafted our budget following the adoption of the 23-24 audit and then mid-year adjustments in January. And it's published in a software called ClearGov. And this link is available here in these slides and also in my staff report. We'll have hard copies. We have hard copies already for the city council. Some people were making fun of the fact that our budget's not real fat, but that's good. It's not fat in a lot of ways, let me tell you. Visuals are real important. Our budget is lean. Leaner than my dinner. I know. Oh, no, I didn't have dinner. Revenues are projected for each different fund, and the use of funds in government protects them from being used for the wrong purpose. So the water and sewer programs are governed by enterprise funds, and they're not interchangeable. The water rates go into the water fund, the sewer rates are deposited in the sewer fund and used specifically for those purposes. Our community development fund is based on anticipated development projects in the community. Conservative estimates did show some growth because we should be getting impact fees and development fees from the gas station and hopefully from the 3rd Street housing development by the wastewater treatment plant. So with those projected revenues, we can offset general fund subsidies of about $500,000. So you'll see that the CD fund in the staff report is at a negative 531,000, I think, and that's about right. That's about average for every year. Because that pays for the advanced planning that we do, the housing element, the zoning code changes and updates. None of that is developer driven, so we need to subsidize with our general fund. Of course, the general fund is our most sensitive issue because we have the most discretion. We can use our general fund to pay for just about anything under the government code. So we use it mostly for public safety. I think I've mentioned this before, but a full service city will use 70% of its general fund for fire and police. And then the balance will pay for smaller programs like library, recreation, and then the administration, the city clerk's office. Revenue sources include sales tax, property tax, and transit occupancy tax, which is sales tax and transit occupancy tax have been our best sources, most reliable sources. We don't get a very big share of property tax in our community. Revenue is projected to increase 1%, which is stable. I'll refer to it as stable, but you'll see we're only growing from 2.3 million to 2.48 million. That's not a very big bump. So it's stable, if not flat. Expenses are projected to increase from 2.2 to 2.3 million. A lot of that is workers' compensation driven and the like. We did have a modest 3% cost of living increase for staff salaries. But right now, our budget as presented in its draft form leaves 145,500 on the table. So we're showing a budget that's in the black, and I'll have some ideas for proposed uses of those funds should the council want to entertain that. I can't handle putting all that in reserves. We have a very healthy reserve of $1.7 million, so higher than our policy. The majority of the operational budget remains static, and the CIP budget has the most significant changes. So a quick overview. I've only got, I think, 10 slides here. The operational budget has 21 departments in it, and all of them have small increases equal to the cost of living. Salaries have a built-in cost of living increase of 3.3%. And as I said, the salaries and major contracts are 90% of our services. So the contracts include law enforcement, fire services, water and wastewater operations, landscape maintenance, and the like. We're getting rid of our private security contract. That was a big one, and replacing that with 2 full-time positions. So getting into localized, personalized public safety. The recreation budget, increasing staffing from the 30 hours a week that it is now to full-time is recommended. To increase programming, we're talking about adopting a strong volunteer program tonight. And a part-time position is also needed. So if we can afford from our general fund to come up with a part-time position, that would be great to support these programs so that our rec assistant, a rec coordinator does not have to be at every event, as well as planning and organizing events at the same time. More than a full-time job. Policies around charging for programs are critical and will drive the costs of the programs into the general fund. So there's not much of a robust recreation budget yet presented. And that's going to take up some of that 145. And working with Caitlin Brady, she estimates the summer camp for 1 week with 30 kids to be a cost of about $10,000. So does the city want to recoup half of that and charge families half of that $10,000 and recoup $5,000? These are questions that we can talk about when we talk about recreation policies later on the agenda. The movie night programs that we're running cost $2,000 per month for 4 screenings. Does the city want to run that just in the warm months of the year? Does it want to run it 12 months of the year? Right now, we're not charging for tickets. The average cost of a ticket is around $10 to recoup that $2,000 per month. So an option to that, of course, is using volunteers and keeping staff levels low, and then relying on the nonprofit service providers for youth and for seniors. So we need to tap into that more, whether that's the Youth Alliance or YMCA. I've talked to some who prefer the Youth Alliance. So those are programs that we can talk about, but we need to budget for now that we have an official recreation program. And then how do we generate revenue from special events? We haven't reviewed that, but our public safety coordinator is reviewing that. I hope we can bring a fee schedule to you soon. The rib cook-off was pretty expensive for public safety and for rubbish and for cleanup. So we need to attach a fee and deposit system to that. Is there support for recreation, library, or youth commissions? Are we looking at the need for new commissions? I know in the Muni code that the library lead tech referenced earlier, it actually calls for a library commission. So we need to look at our Muni code and see if we want to start recreating some of these recreation, library, or youth commissions, or some combination of the three. Establishing a program for funding special nonprofit interests is a task I would like to put forward to a rec coordinator should it become a full-time position. The system is one that we set aside funding. It's proposed $50,000 from the 145 this year. And that would provide, for example, 10 grants for nonprofits, $5,000 a piece. Or we could do $25,000 this year, start smaller and have $2,500 grants for our nonprofits. But we have an application process. That's the important part. That we have a single application process. Whether or not they need to be a legal nonprofit, 501c3 or not is a good question, because we have some great service providers in our community that are not official 501c3s. We have an opportunity to provide local preference for our local nonprofits, to have preference over more regional YMCA type of programs. And is the service being provided consistent with our strategic plans and our goals? And are there deliverables for city residents? So we would have this application process. They would all come in on a certain date. I imagine an ad hoc committee provided by the city council to review the applications, interviews if appropriate, and then a recommendation on how to spend this small budget on local nonprofits. Right now, I have them drifting in. I have 10,000 from one program, and the head of that program called me yesterday to see if it was on tonight's agenda, and I explained to them, no, we're going to create this whole process so that we have a more equitable way of deciding. And it takes the burden off the council and off of staff, in fact, and say, no, this is our system, this is our program, get in line with us in January, February, and we'll consider this in time for the budget. So that's one thing that I think the rec coordinator could do, because it connects our rec programs to these other service providers, and it creates a good synthesis there between the two. Leadership for city offices. This is an idea that I heard from Citygate, from the retired finance director. If we're having a hard time recruiting council member applicants, consider paying a stipend to our city council to make it more attractive, or in some cases, providing health benefits for elected officials. The Anthem Blue Cross programs, 900 and change for an individual. And so that would be, 5,000 a month times 12 to provide health benefits for our leadership offices. It's been proposed by one member of the community that we have an applicant forum. So we invite people on a Saturday morning, we provide a light breakfast, and we talk to them about the commitment it takes to be on a commission or on the city council. We have kind of like an applicant forum, maybe at the library or at the community center. It would be a good use for our new community hall. To describe the roles and responsibilities and the legal and ethical and attendance expectations, because it's work, and it's and whether or not it's for free may matter. So I just throw these out there as ideas. We don't have to make this. We're obviously not making decisions tonight, but with the election in November, as Councilmember Jordan just pointed out, might be good timing to do that this summer or in August before the deadline. As I look at our budget, and after a conversation with the Hollister city manager in particular, I'm concerned about our safety contracts, because we're only being billed for direct costs, both in law enforcement and in fire services. So according to retired undersheriff from Citygate, there are a lot of small cities that are on the verge of bankruptcy because their law enforcement is so expensive. LA County charges the small cities in that county an arm and a leg, close to $630 per capita in Agoura Hills or in Calabasas or in some of the small cities in West LA. And he said it's really a burden for them. Right now, we are paying one deputy 40 hours per week, and our cost is $91 per capita. And I'm just sharing with the council that in other cities, it's as high as over $600 per capita for law enforcement. So what I'm talking about is the direct cost is the salary of that officer versus the cost of the car, the cost of a canine, the cost of the sheriff, the cost of the jail, the cost of all the overhead that goes with that. takes that from $9,100 per capita up to $600 per capita in most cities. So I wanted to point that out as a potential vulnerability. I have confirmed with the sheriff that he's not going there and that we're staying with our current contract. But a year ago, he wanted to open up the contract. And I actually met with their county council in 2 discussions on that matter. So it's out there. And as we've seen lately from fire services, again, there we're being billed for direct costs. It takes 9 full-time firefighters to man an engine with 3 members on a 24/7 basis, and that's about 260,000 annually. We subtract the lease that we're charging them and the utilities. The Hollister City Council was asking all kinds of questions about lease. And what's the value of the lease and why are we paying? Well, obviously, if the city is 3.4 to 3.8% of all of Hollister's fire calls, what percent of those calls come from this station? And how many calls are serviced from the station that aren't in our city? Right now, we're paying less than $130 per capita. The current contract is based on a 2018 study where Hollister would be estimated to be about $11 million, and they're actually at $14 million. So they're $3 million higher than our current contract was negotiated. So right now, Hollister cost is $14 million, and that comes out to $215 per capita. So I pointed that out to the city manager, and I sent him a copy of the city of Modesto's budget. And I said, look, in Modesto, they're paying $180 per capita. Why don't we talk about some compromise here? And I'm considering setting aside $100,000 as a placeholder in case Hollister City Council comes to us and says we want to renegotiate the contract. That would take us from 260 to 360. It would take us to about 180 per capita. And he called me this morning and said, are you setting money aside in the budget? And I said, well, we'll see what the council votes on. But I was able to come to you tonight with a balanced budget with 145,000 left over, adding 100,000 to the fire budget. In exchange, we've removed the second deputy, 150,000 from the sheriff's law enforcement budget, and we have no budget contract for private security, 123,000. So these are some of the changes that are presented in the budget tonight, and this law enforcement budgets are our most critical matter right now, fiscally. I think basically in talking with Citygate about the fire contract, he didn't think we had an option. And he said that, and Scott and I have had this conversation because CAL FIRE is now requiring three firefighters per engine. And back in 2018, they compared the Hollister Fire proposal about 170,000, 178,000 a year, and CAL FIRE's cost proposal was over $1 million. So we don't know if CAL FIRE can service our city for fire, and we're not sure how the Hollister Fire would service the county without our station. So the fact that the council in Hollister talked about not even waiting until December 2025 for the contract to expire, but pulling the 270-day notice and serving it right away to us and just saying in 270 days we got to figure out this cost impact. So I can't enforce enough. I can't say enough how important this matter is, and that I've done the best I can in the last week or so to figure out where we stand with our fire contract. And I have the support of Citygate to help me negotiate it, the retired fire chiefs and staff there. So I feel comfortable that we have the firepower to shoot back. But there are some serious issues here to consider. That we're just paying for the 9 firefighters. We're not paying for the indirect, the fire marshal, the fire chief. We're not paying for the overhead, the staff time and the insurance and the other things. And John was going to look at the fire contract to see if he understood if they could actually terminate that contract. I don't know if you had a chance.
I have not, but I will.
Okay, so we'll look at that contract to see if they can pull it. All right. Capital improvement plan, the sewer force main continues, the drinking water project continues, and this year we have over $1 million for street improvements. So without using the general fund, we'll be able to reignite another pavement management program like we did 2 or 3 years ago, where we addressed improvements on 11 different streets. So I'm really excited about that. It's about 1.5 million. Sidewalk repair, we have grant money budgeted for that as well. I'm sorry, but the Abbey Park ball lights is going to have to be pushed till next year. But we also want to find funding for the Luck Park Master Plan. And we need a master plan for the Washington Street Park because we don't want the state to snatch that up for housing. We gotta put that to use and make it a park as soon as we can. So the same fellow that we met from Speaker of the House, Rivas's office, was on the phone with Dimitri and I last week because he has access to park money. And he mentioned a state initiative coming forward that has a combination of reducing greenhouse gases with improving parks. That sounds like Sacramento to me. And he's optimistic that there'll be funding there that we can put towards these three park projects. The Abbey Park is already fully funded. I just need the technical. I don't, after watching 2 presentations on the Pinnacles, I don't want to put a bunch of bright lights down at Abbey Park that not only puts off the neighbors, but make it harder to.
They've never affected the Pinnacles in the 100 years we've been using the lights. I don't understand. You got me so baffled by that.
I'm just.
There are 2 mountain ranges between us and the Pinnacles.
So the whole conversation was around dark sky and how bright the Pinnacles is and the surrounding cities. So instead of having lights that go up like this, just to shine them down, and the different lighting, it wasn't that Abbey Park affected the Pinnacles. It was just.
The cumulative effect.
Yeah.
We already have a dark skies ordinance in this town.
We do.
So, if the Abbey lights aren't pointed down, we should sometime in the near future rectify that situation.
Well, we're going bigger and
Yeah.
potentially brighter.
That was the goal, but I think just as we hired a specialist for acoustics before we ventured into community hall, I want to hire.
It's been budgeted. This is now with the second year.
Right.
Right.
So that's the
We
problem.
had new lights up last year.
We should have the staff to do that and the resources. You're absolutely right. I don't know what else to tell you.
Okay.
All right. And with that, I'm done.
Questions, John, questions?
Thank you for going to all this work. I am really worried about the Hollister City Council. They're gonna want their money. We have frankly been getting a very good deal for the past 7 years, or maybe even 8, whatever it is from 2017. We've been getting a very good deal. The Citygate people have reaffirmed that. And I know from speaking to the people of Hollister that they want to collect what they think is a fair share. So thank you for being proactive, because if we had to form a fire department in 270 days, I guarantee you we couldn't do it. There's just no way. And we don't have the money or the personnel here in City Hall to do that. So we have to find an outside contractor somewhere, and hopefully Hollister will stay very competitive. That's it for me for now.
Leslie?
I'm kind of disappointed in the Board of Supervisors not working with the Sheriff's Department, and the sheriff has been working diligently on trying to get officers and has support from, refresh my memory again, Don, what's it called for the schools?
Resource officers.
Officers, where the schools will pay for them. And the Board of Supervisors still said, thank you very much, have a nice day. So 3-2 vote against the hiring of new deputies, more deputies, even though they are being funded by outside agencies. Super disappointed.
Including us.
Including us. We lose ours, although, and we have offered to pay for one. we've budgeted for one. We've had conversations with the sheriff to have one. The sheriff is on board with giving us one. Same with all of the schools. Yet the Board of Supervisors on a 3-2 vote, ex-nated. Disappointing.
Wow. So I guess I'm probably behind on this fire department, issue. So reading it just for the first time this afternoon and then again a little bit later, I'm not quite understanding the subtract lease and utilities. Does that mean that from the charges that were paid, Hollister, we are getting a break because we house them here?
Well, I think the way it was negotiated, I've talked with some of the senior citizens around town who were part of those negotiations. We have a separate lease agreement. And we collect a market lease that equals about $34,000 a year from them for the use of the city's fire station that was previously the volunteer fire department. We have separate metering for their electrical and their PG&E and their cable, and we simply pass through on a quarterly basis about $2,000 of costs for the utility and the television and water and stuff. So the contract with them is for $260 a year. And then you net out the lease and the utilities.
Okay, but yet they're still wanting to have us pay more, but what I heard the fire report was that most of the calls are not even in our city. So how are they justifying trying to get more out of us, milk more out of us?
Well, that's what the Hollister City Council and remind us, only 2 of the city council members were up in arms and concerned about. So we need to have that conversation. When the annual report was given by Acting Chief Dover, it was concluded that we were 3.4 to 3.8% of the calls, but we're obviously the shortest calls on their list. Obviously.
Yeah.
So are there other ways to do it? So Citygate suggested that we talk to them and negotiate multiple factors. So if this is station 4, what percentage of the total calls is this station? And then what percentage of those calls are for San Juan residents? And not just by zip code, but for San Juan residents. So that's going to take some time to look down at that. And the Hollister city manager is more than willing to work with me and look at these different scenarios of coming up with a fair rate. But right now, we're only paying for the officers, the firefighters themselves, not the overhead and the supervision.
Well, it sounds like even though we're not, there's still that factor that what are the majority of the calls going to? They're going to county calls, MBAs, it's still not us. So I think we need to really hold fast and we need to really look at that somehow.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you bring your slides back up? Sorry. Just the last couple with the fire and then the wrap up slide. You closed it before I could ask. You did. You showed it for about 2 milliseconds.
Oh, I might have closed it all together, Liz. Sorry, got too excited.
While we're waiting, can I do a big shout out to house number 4, the coop? Thank you guys. We do appreciate you.
So at the bottom.
The second to last, it was about the fire. I'm trying to jog my memory.
12 and 13. Okay. Right there?
Yeah. So I think I get what you're talking about. I was kind of fuzzy on
Okay.
my
sorry.
brain's not working properly, so hearing it doesn't help as much as seeing it.
Sure.
And 1000% baby brain. So when that study is completed and when we look at that, will that study also include not just looking at, you know, what percentage of calls are coming from San Juan, you know, how much of the county is the station servicing? But I assume as we're looking at, lease rates and water and all that kind of stuff, things go up. So making sure that we're charging our the fair share for what is being provided. It's valuable if a call is coming out in the county for them, and if it's west of us, they're not going to want to. It's people's lives. You can't wait what is it, 45 minutes in traffic, sitting in that, and when they start closing stuff even more. So there is some value, in them having an outpost here to be able to take a call in the county, and just making sure that is being looked at as a positive and not just the negative of, oh, we've got to pay San Juan for a lease type of thing. Just reframing that conversation, and then I would love for when the time comes for this not just to be presented to them without us being able to have a conversation, if there could be some sit down between the councils to have a conversation about it.
I agree wholeheartedly on that. We try to talk to the.
So if and when we've got to sit down and talk about it, I would hate for the conversation just to be at their dais and then them squawking votes like we squawk votes.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I think we should have a joint meeting.
And then can you go to the next slide? There was something that jumped out at me right when you were trying to close it.
Oh, right, I asked for a subcommittee to work with our public safety agreements.
And then one more down, maybe. Oh yeah. What's this June 6th date?
Just throwing out dates for budget workshops.
Okay.
And if we had one earlier in June, in the event we needed a second one, we'd still have time to have a second one. But I need to be on personal business June 10 through 14, so I just was hoping to get some guidance on scheduling budget workshops for the community. Whether those are Saturday mornings or Thursday evenings or whatever works best for the council.
Town halls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And just throwing this out there for me personally, new baby, new job. I'm super sensitive to not planning far ahead and over communicating dates.
So-
Job and weekends work best for me.
Weekends work best for you? Okay,
Yeah, because I have a school schedule.
okay. So I can work with Liz and we can pull the council independently.
Yeah, I can't make the 6th. I have something important to do yet.
Okay, that's fine. I just threw that out there.
Anything else?
Yeah, I asked that we, that Scott, the mayor, consider an ad hoc committee to help negotiate these contracts.
Okay. And then on the one thing, Jackie, go back to the fire thing. One thing Don jumped out there on really quick, which was huge at our meeting, the fire districting meeting. There's some confusion about finishing the feasibility study and getting, well, long story short, the people that we were using, the contract ended, and to extend, it was something like $40,000 to extend.
50%.
Yeah, so Don chimed out of the audience and said, okay, as long as we don't have to pay 3.8%. Because that's all we're affecting you. And just a quick update, the reason that we formed this committee is to alleviate this mess right here. Completely take Hollister Fire out of the county fire business, create a countywide fire district, and this city and Hollister City would no longer have to deal with fire. It would be in a district of elected officials and a board that runs them, and it'd be completely separate. And we just be, yeah, and and that was the thing we were hoping they were going to figure out on the equity or on the feasibility study, how much it's going to cost, you know, per unit and all that kind of stuff, but it's been 3 years and we're like in the same spot we were at 3 years ago. It's just, it's getting really frustrating. And only two council members in Hollister have been squawking. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know if they're just grandstanding just to be heard or if they really understand what's going on. I'm kind of confused with, I'm confused with that. But without this station right here, they will not be able to cover a massive section of their obligation. So if they're gonna drop us, then we better hear them talking about dropping the county too. Because they submitted this bid back in the day. Hollister didn't have to do that. They could have went to bid again. There was a big war between the county and CAL FIRE CDF at the time. So they didn't have to do, I mean, but they did. And I get it. As a guy who drove a fire engine at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't want to drive to New Hydra from Union Road. I get that. I mean, I used to drive up to Pacheco Pass weekly. But fact of the matter is they took on this role. So for them to, well, I'm not hearing this from any of the rank and file or even their chiefs, but there's a lot of confusion, and we heard this we had to hear the whole new how was it, the scenario or the synopsis all over again. This is why we're here, because we've got 3 new members on our, actually 4 new members on our board. The 2 of us are the only ones that have been there for 3 years. And one of the members is the same member on the county board that shut down adding deputies. So, you know, it's frustrating that public safety isn't first and foremost on our supervisor's mind.
Absolutely.
Especially since we're going to pay for the deputy.
Yeah.
There's no out-of-pocket expense. And it gains another deputy. This young man or woman could work overtime and fill holes. It was very narrow-minded over fixing streets. Well, that was frustrating. I'm glad I mentioned that about the deputy. That just,
Yeah, can I just piggyback on the fire situation? When Citygate was here, they have a department dedicated to special fire districts.
yes.
Did we bring that up to Chris Mangano?
I sent her an email and never got a response.
Well, we have a meeting that might come up soon.
Maybe.
That we can talk about it.
So they changed our date. I don't know if you,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we went from the 3rd Thursday to now we're at the first Thursday. Without asking anybody.
Or an email being sent to cancel that 3rd Thursday meeting.
I know, I know, I felt so bad about that she drove over there. If we don't have any more questions, we'll go to public comment on this.
This is fire, not water.
Just on the draft budget.
That's what we're talking about right now.
The draft budget, one of the sections was talking about sales tax. I was just curious, on the rib cook-off. That was crazy. How do we accumulate sales tax from that? Cause I'm sure there was a lot of money spent that day. I spent a lot of money that day. And there was a lot of people there. And then the other thing on Abbey Park lights. I know those lights are old. Those lights are older than me and Scott. And they're still working. But I would guess that they're used less than 30 days a year. I don't understand why we want to spend, I believe the budget is $150,000 to replace the lights. I'd rather see $150,000 spent on the dugouts, on the restrooms, on the snack shack. I think we can get by another 20 years with the lights that we have right now. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments? Questions anymore? Concerns? How are we gonna handle this? Liz, I'm a little confused. So I find a resolution, so. Are we, I'm looking at your notes and it's under action, but are we going to
The action was to appoint a committee, that's all.
appoint a committee? That's what this,
Ad hoc committee,
that's what the,
that's the only action I was seeking.
okay. And that was in the.
And we can set the dates by.
Is that something we can do out of the budget draft? I mean. Okay, okay.
To review these public safety contracts.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm kind of confused because I didn't see anything about that. So,
So in the beginning of the first page of the staff reports, I've outlined the recommendations.
yeah, I read through that safety negotiation. Okay, so that's. Yeah, it makes sense. It's part of budget, right? Okay. Yeah, thanks. I've got 6 months, so I don't know how much more I can do in 6 months. But I can try,
Well,
just like I told my friend John Hopper, did you wake up and hit your head this morning? No, kidding.
so I asked Scott if he would continue to be on it because he and I have been on it for quite some time and listening to the shenanigans, I think was the word.
I said clownery. Yeah.
Going on back and forth. So I asked that he stay on because of the history.
I'm willing to stay on. This was kind of the platform. I was a public safety platform, but I'll give the best I can on it,
Kinda.
Yeah.
And all it would be is reviewing the contracts, right?
Yeah. And are you?
Yeah.
Would you like to finish
Please
what we started?
Yes.
Is everybody okay with
continue
that?
with the shenanigans.
Yeah.
I move that action.
I second it.
Okay.
That's SH. Sorry.
No.
Okay, calling for the vote. Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan, Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Sorry about the confusion on that. I'm getting tired.
I understand. It's okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Day weed whacking and my head's been exploding since then too. Okay, here's a really exciting subject. B, approve a resolution approving an alternate funding structure for the local agency formation commission, LAFCO. Who's got that? Don, you got that?
Yeah, I guess I'm Jennifer. We're very fortunate to have new leadership at LAFCO, and they represent more than one LAFCO in the state, and they're very skilled at what they do. So they're cleaning up shop, and they're noticing that their funding structure didn't include any special districts, and that's a normal part of the LAFCO budget. And what they're proposing then is to add in the special districts in our LAFCO area, and by doing so, share the costs. So at the back of the staff report is a table, and they've got an alternative, 1/3 special districts or 1/5. And they're recommending the 1/5, which reduces the city's cost a couple $1,000s a year and passes the proportional amount of that to the special districts who would pay $50,000 of the $245,000 budget. So this is a cleanup measure proposed as recommended in the attached resolution that we would approve the 1/5 proportionate share and change the funding structure for LAFCO, thereby reducing the city's cost.
Good stuff. Questions? I think you're on board on this, aren't you?
I'm good. I'm good to go.
Questions?
No, just a little further, cause I sit on LAFCO. It, it was brought to the LAFCO last year to invite special districts to see if they wanted a seat at the big kid table to have some input on how the county looks and what's going on, and most of them were represented at the last meeting. There was a public workshop and most of them showed up, and of those, they agreed to the formation of, and it wasn't even necessarily the largest paying entity into it that wanted a seat at the table. There'd be 2 more seats at the table, and they seem to be in favor of it. So they're all bringing it back to their boards, and we'll hear about it next month on whether or not, if the majority say, yes, we want to be in, then all of the special districts are in, including our cemetery district. So yeah, it was a really cool conversation that was going around the table. And again, we would go to a lesser amount, as well as the other 2 jurisdictions, to help offset the cost for those who, the cemetery district doesn't have any money, so they would be paying 0 and potentially have a seat at the table.
Huh, okay.
No, I sat in on a discussion for this while Mayor Pro Tem was out, and I'm in favor.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed to with the special, I was thinking, what, like mosquito abatement district, the cemetery districts,
Hospital district, the cemetery district, Tres Pinos.
are schools in that too? Or like-
No, schools aren't covered under LAFCO at all. Yeah,
Interesting.
So the department, the state has a whole education code governing.
Yeah.
yeah.
In
Sunny Slope.
South County, there's like some small water districts, aren't there? So they would be able to, oh, so that's,
San Benito County Water District, Sunny Slope, Hazel Hawkins, Cemetery,
yeah,
Tres Pinos. A couple of others.
that's huge.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what Nevada did by consolidating all their water, their little water co-ops and everything and then they were able to battle Los Angeles on a lot of stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of unity there. Any public comment on this? Look at the mic. Sit over here so she could see you. And nobody in Zoom. I know those are great.
Nobody in Zoom.
Okay. Any more guys, questions, comments, nothing?
I just have a couple of questions. All right. So looking at the back page of the memorandum, the MOU dated May 18th. So looking at the dollar amounts, so what you're saying is our fiscal year 23 to 24 allocation actual, we're only at 7,300. So we would be paying less than that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, 5,800.
Seriously?
5,800.
Wow.
Because
And that's getting more of our districts being represented, like you just mentioned, the cemetery district and whatnot.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'd say, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, 1,500. That's free movies in the park now.
Yeah.
There you go. Saving money left and right.
Okay, any motion?
Oh, yeah, I'll make a motion. Oh, I probably should.
Okay.
Should I not?
Motion?
Okay, no, you can too. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I move that we approve.
I second.
Okay. Liz,
Both left.
what are you looking at me for?
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see, volunteer program.
Thank you, Mayor. Caitlin has hung in there. There she is. I'm so glad she's
Oh, she's
attending
still
by
there.
Zoom tonight. She's been working hard. not only on presenting programs to the community, but coming forward to the council with policies. And as we've discussed in my overview and the budget summary, volunteer program is critical to a successful recreation program. So with that, Caitlin has a few slides that she provided to Liz, and we'll jump through them quickly. Oh, great. So you're co-host, Caitlin? Okay. So you're on.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, you're co-host, so you can share your screen.
Aha. Okay,
Aha.
thank you.
Go
I have
ahead.
not done this in a long time. Okay, let me.
There you go. You're in
Are
there.
you able to see it?
Yes, yeah, you're in there. I like that.
All
color.
right.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so you'll see that there's quite a few pages about this volunteer program. It seems daunting, but I want to make a little bit of sense of it before we talk about it in detail, so it doesn't seem quite so daunting. So the recommended motion here is to name volunteers as employees for the sake of workman's comp, to protect both them and the city. And that's the actionable item that goes with these 15 pages and 12 attachments. This program is, like Dawn has been saying all evening, is necessary for the longevity and the efficacy of this department. If we're at a point that some of you in the room have experienced where if I can't be there, then no one's going to be there and the thing can't happen. So without volunteers and some sort of support and some very specific individuals in that room, thank you very much. We can't do things reliably and we can't do as many things as we want. So in an interest to stretch the budget a little bit more, we want to use volunteers because they are willing and affordable. And then this decision to count them as employees for the sake of workers' comp will help reduce liability and will keep us and them safe. Again, there's so many pages in there because this is a full program that will leave us ready for any situation. So this is all materials that was put together by Sierra and adapted to make fit for our city. But it can be used not just in the recreation department, but in all the departments that we need volunteers for. So it's not recreation specific. That does mean that there are a lot of scenarios that are covered in the materials that are in this packet. Typically, we will only be using a couple of pieces of those because we won't need, some of those things are for if you want to leave your volunteer alone in a room with children or alone in the room with elderly, though there are different requirements and different paperwork that goes with that. All that stuff is included in this set, though we may not use it very often. Here, if you look, I put the attachment letters for the ones that we'll use most frequently for almost all volunteers. If we do a formal posting for a volunteer position, then they'll use the application. All volunteers will sign the workers' compensation waiver or release. And so everyone will use that piece of paper. And then depending again, if we do a job posting, then we may also use the written volunteer job description. The rest of them are case by case. And again, we have them, but we won't necessarily have to use them for every single person that wants to just like help set up or collect garbage at an event. Our objectives here are, like I said, optimizing the contributions of affordable and willing community members. It'll supplement what I'm already doing and what you guys have helped me out with. It'll also approving the workers' comp and all these paperwork, these forms and things will minimize our risk and will protect them and us. And then there's a lot of regulation that gets covered by these forms so that we know we're doing the right thing the right way and we can keep track of it simply. There are 3 major steps in this program. It's the recruitment and screening, then training and supervision, and what we're calling rights and recognition. So recruitment and screening is what it sounds like. So like I said, if we're doing a formal volunteer position posting, then there's a recruitment process that goes with that. And then all the screening are those the background checks and fingerprinting if we need to do those. Training and supervision will be left up to the people who are directly supervising the volunteers, the department heads, or whoever we've assigned as their supervisor. And then the rights and recognition portion is, you'll see it lists out that volunteers are to be treated like any other staff, they're to be respected, and that's all outlined. And then there's a recognition component that goes with it, because we do appreciate the fact that these people are willing to just come out and help. A few new responsibilities and roles. HR will be in charge of the screening stuff and all the paperwork that way, making sure that we have everything that we need to, and that that the correct things get filled out for the correct people. The new role, which may be absorbed by somebody else, is volunteer coordinator, just making sure that people get placed in the place that they want to be. So in that long document, you'll notice if you read through, there's a lot of places where it says will be placed by interest. And so if they want to be helping out with the rec department on a certain project or a certain program or doing certain things, just making sure they get placed in that. That's a large responsibility of the volunteer coordinator. Again, this is a program that can help all departments. So that's why the coordinator position exists, or responsibility exists. Like I said, that could be absorbed into somebody else's role. It's not a huge ask. Then the department heads, like I said, are responsible for training and supervising, and then also reporting back monthly on who volunteered, how many hours, and what got done. And that report will go back to whoever has the volunteer coordinator responsibilities. So those are the 3 new sets of responsibilities and possibly a new hat for someone to wear. And last, I just want to show you like what this looks like. Like I said, it's 15 pages of most of it is outlining very specific details. And so this is what it will look like in a practical usage. So if you do a formally advertised position, you're going to post that position like you would a job, and that's what's going to use the written job description, and then you'll engage with the applications, and then someone will collect the applications, they'll evaluate, and they'll make sure that those applicants get placed with where they'd like to be placed. Then the paperwork, the screening stuff, like I said, background check, fingerprinting, all that stuff will get done after the volunteers have been placed. Make sure that they are as they're getting placed, make sure all that gets through, and then the orientation and training, making sure that people are ready to represent the city. That goes with the department heads, and then monthly reporting. For those less formal opportunities, it's just that workers' comp form, the making sure that they have that release signed, and then the on-site training, which is, okay, here's your responsibility, here's how to engage with people, here's what you absolutely cannot do, here's where we stand. It can be super quick, like I said, on-site, and then that still does need to go into monthly reporting from the department heads. That's all I've got on this 15-page and 12 attachment document.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Question, John?
Right now, when I'm looking at the top row of dots and things, that's a lot of work for a volunteer. Oh, and for the city employees too, to get those volunteers, properly oriented, I guess.
Like
have
I
a
said,
feel-
that's the more formal one.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll be using the bottom one a lot more often. It just.
Yes.
It just seems to, but thank you for all your work. It makes it much easier for us to understand, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, John, I think you bring up a good point, whether the city works with the Youth Alliance to run a summer camp and they take care of all of this stuff with their own, or whether we run it ourselves and rely on volunteers, that's kind of the break point, whether we contract for it or whether we do it ourselves.
Thank you for this, Caitlin.
Yeah.
As volunteers, as elected volunteers, the council, do we get workers' comp? Just a question. That the whole workers' comp thing kind of throws me off. Depending on, I mean, one could volunteer and get hurt, and we're liable now for as a workers' comp. From a workers' comp perspective, do we want to be paying workers' comp for the duration of an employee? I don't know. I mean, a volunteer. I don't know. That
What was explained to me was that because our risk manager, this is what comes straight from them.
Mhm.
What was explained to me was that you want to sign them on for workers' comp because it protects the city from other sort of what's the word, going into court and having them fight and then having to pay out much more than what you would pay through workers' comp. That's how it was explained to me.
It provides the insurance as the workers' comp would be the exclusive remedy for the volunteer. And because we're having the volunteer release the city otherwise, which is important. But it just really is a method of ensuring, helping the city, protecting the city against any claims. The insurance that's being provided is the workers' comp insurance for any injuries on site or during the course and scope of the
Okay.
volunteer.
So fiscal impact, if we have 20 volunteers, we're paying workers' comp for 20 new employees, quote unquote. What does that look like?
I haven't done any cost analysis.
Yeah, sorry, kind of like a throw out question, just for fiscal responsibility. And I don't know how many volunteers, I mean, this city was built on volunteers. Thank you for our volunteer firefighters. Thank you to our volunteer firefighters. So and I appreciate everybody who does it. It's daunting. It's 3 o'clock in the morning or all night reading a council packet. So yeah, I appreciate the program and I think it's amazing and I think we desperately need it, and to have all of these forms are I mean, way to think about the city and protecting it and protecting everybody who we're trying to serve. So I appreciate that. Just looking for fiscal responsibility as well.
It does seem to be a program or a method
Mhm.
that's used up and down the state.
Perfect.
So
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So what we're avoiding is a personal injury claim. So if someone falls off a ladder and breaks an arm, they sue us for personal injury. But if they sign this waiver, their only recourse is the medical help that we can offer them through a workers' comp
Perfect.
program. So
Okay.
there's no lost wages.
Yep, yep, yep.
It's just to put a cap on that damage.
It really protects the city.
Got it.
With the release, and then the exclusive remedy is the workers' comp insurance.
Okay.
And the cost is something that I don't know anything about, but
Yeah.
certainly.
Thank you for the falling off the ladder. That makes a little more sense. Thank you. Thanks, Caitlin. This is amazingly
Yeah.
awesome.
Question?
Yeah, I had the same questions that Vice Mayor Jordan did. And I guess I look at it from the volunteer perspective, and I'm glad that I looked at the packet that you are also doing an extensive background check, because the city could be just as litigated against if we didn't do a thorough background check and some untoward event happened towards a minor by an adult we failed to screen properly, then we would be in a huge world of litigation world by that minor's parent. So I like that part of it, but I'm thinking that with the less formal opportunities, the workers' comp form, it's just a waiver that you, is that how that works? It's a waiver, not,
You can sign it the day of your assignment. You know, you could show up as a high school student who's
Mhm.
helping an event like we had for the rib cook-off or what have you.
and we're not paying workers' comp for a one-time event, or are we?
That's the question that I need to follow up with Sarah.
Yeah,
What is it? What is the cost? What is the financial impact of
because I could
signing
see,
up 100 volunteers? Is that?
right, for a one-time event. And but when you're having an ongoing, like an aid to help Caitlin at Monday Night Madness or Friday Night Movies, Lights, yeah. That's an ongoing volunteer, then that becomes maybe, I guess I'm just having a hard time dealing with employee title versus a volunteer, non-paid volunteer. I think you need to really, for me, it needs a little bit more verbiage and clarification. And would it be better to get a part-time paid person for something rather than trying to? Do we have that in the budget? Do we have for rec? We're talking about across the board for lots of positions. That's what you're saying?
Right, so we did have a budget, a small budget for volunteers, even t-shirts,
Okay,
but
Okay.
not workers' comp. So we had imagined maybe as many as 100 volunteers at one point. I remember Kim Calamay coming and talking about needing a robust volunteer program.
Hmm.
So Caitlin went out and built it.
But then with that, who pays for their background check? That's an extensive background check and fingerprinting. Is if you get 100 volunteers, and what's that cost at a pop for that extensive background check?
Well, the background check is more, it depends if they're handling cash. If they're working with children and minors, that's when those things have certain triggers. And the number of volunteers per minor. So that's where it might be more advantageous to work with the YMCA or Youth Alliance than try and create these programs in-house.
Yeah, life scans aren't cheap.
No.
When Mike and I started on the fire department, the volunteer department, we paid our own comp. What I mean by we, the fire department, the city didn't pay until the city didn't start paying workers' comp for the fire department until probably 85, 86. And when they negotiated that with us, they put a ceiling. You know, you can only have 20 members. That's all we can afford, because you still have to pay a premium for each one of those volunteers, for each one of those. We never had to be considered an employee. It was implied because we were working for the city on that basis. But yeah, when we first started, we paid everything, and then the city finally started paying. And then finally we renegotiated because our department grew. I mean, we had 40 people at one point in time. And I was like, I have to insure every one of these people. So that was our biggest operating budget out of, for years. I mean, my $60,000 budget went to workers' comp, and the rest we had to earn we basically did fundraisers just to put, hose on the engines. So yeah, I mean, we had to pay per. So there will be, and then if you're talking 100 people, I don't think you can sign them up for workers' comp that day. You have to sign them up and you send it in and then they bill you for that person or that unit each.
What's a waiver? It's just a waiver form, right?
Well, it's a waiver form, but it's still state comp, right? It's still state workers' comp.
That's
that
what-
who
that's
we
my
use?
understanding.
Yeah, so we have,
We can check with Sarah a little bit further, but,
I don't think they're gonna insure somebody for free.
no,
So could you, question for Sarah is, could you have 100 policies? And as you sign up for whatever event, you have 10 people for the first event and they're not coming back, then you have 50 for the next, that's 60 people that have been signed up a year. I don't know if you can rotate policies or how that works. I don't know.
I think we need to ask a little bit further from Sarah about how it's structured, about how the coverage is structured. I don't know, Caitlin, you didn't have any specific conversations with Sarah on that?
No,
issue?
not on that. I did know that he told me. The only thing that I have to add is that he did tell me that you could have someone show up to an event, sign that waiver, and then train them on the spot. That's how I came up with the less formal opportunities, because he was saying that's mostly how you'll use this program. I don't know what the details surrounding that are, but I do know that that's what he told me.
There may be kind of a blanket coverage and that just might not be if it's not incremental where we're getting hit every person that shows up, then I think there would be cost effective or more cost effective, but of course we want to know what that blanket coverage is. So.
Okay, and I'm sorry, pardon my ignorance. Who, she said who is he?
Thor. We have several
Thor.
representatives, yeah, Thor from our insurance. So we were with Parsac for a long time, right?
Oh,
They
yeah.
represent 40 or 50 different cities. So they buy one policy for the volunteers in all those cities. And all we do is sign up to be a part of that volunteer policy, right?
Okay, more question, Do we have public comment? Yeah,
Just a heads up, I have to go through the same type of volunteer paperwork that you guys are talking about here with the Junior Giants. And I know that we have a day of training and I believe we do sign a waiver and then we do a background check. And it's like a national background check. And they pay for it, but I think the cost is only like $25. But then if you get 100 people, then you're looking at $2,500. There are some costs to it.
I think the blanket policy would have limits as far as numbers and it would be easier to operate with.
Yeah,
But
that'd
we
be-
don't know the cost yet, so.
okay, that'd be good to hear. 100, boy, somebody's 100 volunteers, yeah. Yeah.
Or be planning commissioners.
Can I, excuse me, Mayor Frios, can I add something for the backgrounds? Those are, the policy is one thing and the backgrounds is something totally different. So if we do a background, we have to actually pay like, Mr. Ponce said. So that's
Pay for the
separate.
background.
So we would have to pay for the backgrounds.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to say, well, thank you for volunteering in San Juan, but you gotta pay $150 to get a life scan. Yeah, no, thank you.
So, Michael, because it's Junior Giants and it's out of Hollister, I know they have somebody out there who does it, and I'm wondering if they get a deal on the background check because it's the city that's doing it.
I think it's San Francisco, the Junior Giants organization. And then it goes to Hollister and Hollister gets a break probably from them or the San Francisco Junior Giants program pays for it. Oh, I'm not exactly sure, but.
Yeah. So should we maybe table this until we get more information? Would that be? Yeah. It's a great, I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong, I want to make sure anybody shows up here and falls off a ladder, they're gonna be covered. So we just gotta make sure if we can only take 20 people, then.
Right, so we can bring this back as part of our budget conversation, and as part of our rec budget.
Okay, great, thank you. Liz, do I, tabling, which is tabled, we just move on? Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Discussion items. There we go. Oh, boy. The rib cook-off debriefing.
Yeah, we're, do you want to get the other recreation
missed it?
item first?
Oh, was there?
So Caitlin can participate. If she can.
Okay, so I have 10. Oh, you mean? This is discussion on development record. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
So Caitlin, did you have slides or, something we
I've got
got?
slides if you want me to share them.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'll help us get through this quicker.
So,
So, we had the situation, where we had a cost of about $10 or $11, for movie night. And we had a lot of pushback from the community. We had some pushback from the community. And in fact, we had pushed forward. We had members of the communities thinking we should be charging. So just for the council's, edification, we had people in favor of charging for fees for our recreation programs and people strongly against it. So, or even offended, I might say. So, as we work on our recreation budget, we had a few policy questions we just wanted to bounce off the council. So, so we have a better understanding of what our projected revenues for programs would be and how many programs we should be producing, et cetera. So, go ahead and jump through it, Caitlin.
yeah, again, this is, I'm gonna just summarize a lot of information. And this is just to get the discussion started. So there's a lot of policy that we've got to talk about so that we can plan effectively and make choices effectively, and so that I know where we all stand together. So this is just, we want to have discussions about these topics, and this is going to be ongoing. It's not like we need to have them all done tonight or even within a month. These can be ongoing. There are some priorities that I have at the end. But again, if we want diverse programming, if we want more efficiency and sustainability in this new burgeoning department, and if you want the programming that we offer to reflect the values of the city, that's why we just want to have these conversations. These are kind of categories of things that I've put together that need to be discussed at some point. Fees, as you can see, this first block of things is all about charging and how do we charge, what do we charge for, how do we decide how to charge for them, what are our senior rates, what do we do about resident, non-resident fees, because that's often, almost always, a distinction is a resident, non-resident fee. Then the next bar down is donations and funding. So it's finances, but the other way. So how are we going to handle getting money? Both when we get it, what do we do with it? And how do we handle it within ourselves and make sure that it's going to the places that we wanted it to go to? And also, how do we seek other kind of creative funding? Then the volunteer program is on here. We need to talk about types of programming that we want to prioritize. And that will align with the needs of our city and the vision that we had before even I got here. Talk about facilities and parks. While they're not technically under my purview, it does make sense to eventually add them to the responsibilities of the recreation department. Often departments are Parks and Recreation or Parks and Community Services. So I've put that on here. Again, these are ongoing discussions. And then some little policies that we need to have, like photography and pets and other things like that. Where do we stand on those? What aligns with who we are as a town? We're typically very pet friendly. So that's why I put that on here. What is our stance on these things? So again, we don't need to talk about every single one of these right now, but these are the things that we need policies on, so that we can move forward. our priorities are that volunteer program so that we can host all the events and programming and all that we need to, while allowing your department to also plan and do all the behind the scenes stuff that needs to get done that can't get done while she's sitting in a park. Then the next priority is that fee schedule stuff. So what do we charge for types of programs? Do we charge for programs? Do we charge for some and not others? And what are our policies around refunds and types of payments that we accept? We have our recreation software. I'm setting it up right now. Literally right now. And one of the things that we can just build into that software is the age dependent fee scheduling and location dependent fee scheduling, so resident, non-resident stuff, and how to handle payments and refunds as I'm setting it up right now, we can just set that up and not have to worry about it anymore. Donations and funding are really important, as we've talked about many times in this evening of proposed budget plans. Funding. So maybe we get creative, but also how do we handle it when somebody hands me $10 and says, I want to put this towards the cost of snacks for your May Movie Madness? What do I do? What do I do with that, and how do we handle it? And is there an account? Do we have a nonprofit? That's kind of the discussion we need to have. And then again, the types of programming. So what are we prioritizing, and having some realistic conversations about what types of programming we can have right now, without a volunteer program, or even with a volunteer program, what kind of funding or what kind of programming can we actually provide at this stage? So these are our priorities, I think. And again, there's a lot of things that we can loop in there. If you want to talk about photography policies, you just let me know. But I think these are our four most important.
So thank you, Caitlin. I just wanted to share my vision and my experience with rec programs. In the old days, in the early spring, we'd be putting together a booklet that had a list of classes, age appropriate, and then a price. And a parent would get a hold of that booklet or what have you, check boxes. And so now with the rec software, we can create that booklet, with the software itself. So we can present to the community a menu of programs, a menu of age groups. That's the way a full-blown rec program would do that, and you would publish it and budget from it. And if a program didn't reach a minimum occupancy, then the program was canceled. And you'd have teachers and instructors assigned to each one, contracts with each of those teachers. And so that's the way it would roll out. And the software is really robust and even handles special events we were talking about earlier. You can reserve places on 3rd Street for special events and campsites. It's a really great software. And so you haven't seen the results of her work in programming it yet or using it. But once a family is registered, it's easy just to stay in the program, almost like getting a library card, and your name and your children are all there, your family members. So anyway, just wanted to talk about the results of the software and the ease of use for the residents.
John, any questions?
Right now, I don't have any questions, but thank you again for this great presentation. It gives us a lot to think about, and thank you again.
A couple of things. First, Caitlin, super impressed with not having a rec program at all. You coming in and where we are just a couple of months later with a program, with ideas, with everything. Thank you. I appreciate everything you're doing. Amazed and thrilled.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the notes that I had was for rec nonprofit funneling money through a 501c3 that already exists, similar to what the Community Foundation does, where they take monies from folks and put it in a separate account, or another separate account, and another separate account. I don't know if any of our nonprofits do that right now, but that's one place to look. And then super excited to go through. I mean, I have notes on all of them. So looking forward to having conversations about it. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, thank you very much, Caitlin, and I agree 100% with Vice Mayor Jordan. In a short amount of time, you stepped up and, there's a lot of behind the scenes work and organization and structuring that maybe people think you just hire someone and then they go up there and play kickball, but there's a lot more to it. So I appreciate it. And I look forward to just really growing. So thanks for all your hard work.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anything?
A lot of this makes sense to me. Not opposed to a fee schedule. But just looking through and talking through some things and percentages of what comes out of budget, what we need to recoup makes sense to me. So thanks for bringing it up.
Yep. And we're currently using the Samio Foundation right now to bring back the Bells Committee. And we're using them, and then they just charge us a nominal percentage. And they do Gary's amazing. Yeah, and Caitlin, I like your energy, kid.
Thank you.
She's the only one, she's with all the energy right now. But no, but no, I agree. You're doing great. And to get together all this, gosh, the documentation in there, we probably none of us ever guessed it was going to get this in the weeds. So yeah, that was quick. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for appreciating
Nice.
it.
Yeah, EJ's he's like in the PowerPoints over there. He's all excited. Any public comment? Mike? Yeah, good job. Okay, we have 5 minutes. I don't think we're not gonna do. Oh, we do. We have 1 minute, so. Yeah.
It looks like we lost Charlie too, and
Yeah.
Roy's not here. I was hoping Roy could talk about his role in the Vid Fest. So
Yeah, me too.
maybe we just continue that on.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I think we're in adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Did you get
Second.
did you get the list?
Thank you, Caitlin.
Aye. Thanks, Liz. Sure, you yelled at me about doing that. Oh my gosh.